Good morning and welcome to the AM show. Across Ghana's 16 regions on the Joy News channel and around the world on myjoyonline.com, we are your hosts for the AM show. My name is Sweetie Abochi.
And I am Samuel Kojo Brace, but I don't know why. Have you wondered why you don't seem to be winning? Maybe you're focusing too much on your shortcomings, on your failures, without appreciating your successes. Sometimes we just get concentrated too much on the little failures we have to forget the many successes we've chalked. And so you'll be stuck, you won't be making progress. So you know what? This morning, and from today going, focus on those little achievements of yours because they will bring you the bigger achievement. Until you do that, you'll be stuck in the way of always looking down on yourself, thinking that you're not making any progress. But my dear, you are making huge progress, even only if you focus on them. Good morning and welcome to the show.
I'm going to miss this motivational speaker. I should invite you to speak to my girls. I run Girl Get Up Africa. They would love to hear from you.
I'd love to always be there.
Folks, let's tell you what we have lined up for you this morning. Of course, we'll start by serving you the AM news, bring you the latest updates on all the stories in and around the country. And after that, we'll sit with our guests to review the newspapers. Awal Mohammed is former head Youth Employment Agency. Timothy Awonturim is former member of parliament for Busa North. They'll be joining us to review the newspapers. And of course, you know that we'll bring you sports, AM sports, because we don't leave you sports enthusiasts out. But following, right after that, we get into our big story.
And Akufo-Addo High Court issues bench warrant for the arrest of Ernest Yaokumi, the presumed winner of the Akweta parliamentary seat in the Eastern region, after convicting him of contempt of court. But the minority describes court's ruling as unfair and unsatisfactory. Plus,
well, the former president, Nana Addo Akufo-Addo, tells his appointees, quote, no running away from accountability. This and many more pertinent issues to digest this morning with our great and expert panel. We'll bring you a fascinating interview with Minority Leader Alexander Nakwenyo-Markin, who sat with our colleague Elton Brobe yesterday on The Pulse. Please join us with your comments and your thoughts across all social media platforms. We are Joy News on TV. Let's get into the AM News now. Welcome aboard. Hello everyone, my name is Sweetie Abochi. Welcome to the AM News. Let's start from the Minister for Lands and Natural Resources, Emmanuel Amakofi-Boa, because he's painted a very disturbing picture of Ghana's fight against galamsey, revealing in Parliament that illegal miners have hijacked 9 forest reserves, with the Forestry Commission blocked from accessing it. According to the minister, galamsey continues to wreak severe havoc on Ghana's lands, but insisted the new government will not relent in the fight against illegal mining. Our Parliamentary Affairs correspondent, Kweku Asante, has the rest of the story.
The Lands and Natural Resources Minister, Emmanuel Amakofi-Boa, was on the floor to paint the picture as to the real effect of illegal mining on the grounds, including the fact that there are huge swathes of land that have been taken over by illegal miners and criminal elements, preventing even state security services from accessing these forests.
Ghana is currently faced with an unprecedented threat to our forest resources and water bodies due largely to illegal small-scale mining activities. This situation has assumed crisis proportions over 9 out of the 44 forest reserves. And, Madam Speaker, this is very important. Over 9 out of the 44 forest reserves have been completely taken over by these illegal mining tasks with impunity. And the Forestry Commission no longer have access to these forest reserves.
The Lands Minister has also been talking about the deplorable state of some river bodies because of illegal mining.
Madam Speaker, the impact of illegal mining on our water bodies, which is the second phase, is critical and equally alarming. Normal turbidity levels for water under treatment should not exceed 500 NTU. However, the current turbidity levels of these water systems are between 5,000 and 12,000 NTU. These water bodies are also contaminated with toxic chemicals such as cyanide, mercury, hydrocarbons, and used recklessly by these illegal miners.
The minister has had support from the minority side, particularly from the MP for Okaikwe Central, Patrick Boama, who has been talking about getting adequate resources for the ministry to do its work, but also warning the minister against influence peddlers, some from among Parliament itself, who will come to him and ask him to let his guard down in this fight against illegal mining.
You'll be tempted. Your colleagues will be involved. Both sides. They will come to you to plead with you. Nole prosequa you'll be tempted with it. Having gone after people, looking at the budget lines to support you in this fight. And we don't want you to come here for your ministry's budget approval and say that, oh, we requested for $500 million, we've been giving 100 million. We'll be listening to you.
The former minister for Western Region has also been proposing the use of the installation of CCTV cameras along some river bodies to police the activities of not just illegal miners, but also the river guards. Majority Leader, concluding the commentary on this important subject on the floor, did indicate that this was primarily, in his opinion, a law enforcement issue.
I see the problem as a crisis of law and order. Why do I say it's a crisis of law and order? The minerals and mining law has very beautiful provisions that if we just followed it and implemented it, it will deal significantly with the problem. What are the provisions, Mr. Speaker? One, people realize that there's gold somewhere, they will go and dig, no matter what you do. It's not just Ghana, anywhere in the world. If we hear that there's gold beneath this chamber, by the time you go back and come back tomorrow morning, you will see some people who will come and find ways and means of digging underneath this chamber to extract the gold. That is gold for you. And that
both sides of the House agree that this matter should transcend the ordinary boundaries of partisan politics. They are demanding concrete action from the minister and allied bodies to ensure that illegal mining is properly nipped in the bud. They say that politicizing this issue will simply give much further to illegal miners and other persons who profit from it to continue their really bad behavior that destroys the land and water bodies. Reporting for Joy News, Kweku Asante, Parliament House, Accra.
The Energy Minister, John Jinapor, and the former board chairman of the Electricity Company of Ghana, Alexander Penyumakin, have joined calls for thorough investigation and prosecution of individuals behind what they describe as syndicated corruption at the power company over the auction of goods imported by ECG. In one instance, essential equipment valued at $500,000 was auctioned for 100,000 cedis or $6,000 and later resold to ECG for $300,000. The Energy Minister considers this a fraud that must be punished. Here's more.
You go to their warehouse, a lot of the equipment are at the mercy of the weather. I just checked from the port, and the security report I'm getting is that a container that cost about $500,000 is imported. ECG is unable to clear that container. Some way, somehow, somebody is able to buy that container at auction for 100,000 cedis, bring it into the open market, and resell it to ECG as $300,000. It will stop. And I mean, it will stop. Whatever it takes to stop that, no matter how unpopular that might be.
And the Minority Leader, Alexander Penyumakin, who served as board chairman of ECG between 2023 and 2024, said he raised concerns about the practice, but was largely ignored. He spoke to my colleague, Elton Brobe.
Became the chair. I was told of that story. And in fact, I had a problem with ECG having to import for and still pay duty. So one of the things I did as a board chair was to get the board to issue a new directive to the effect that any supplier who imported for ECG had to clear and deliver to our warehouse. That was the first intervention I made. So I stopped that thing upon assumption of office as chair.
So are you surprised that?
No, I'm not surprised because I know we had a lot of challenges. We had a lot of containers at the port. So what Jinapor said was right. Mm-hmm. Indeed, there were a lot of containers at the port that we had not paid for their
clearance,
their duty. So when I assumed office, as a businessman, I didn't see the sense in it. You get a contract, you only drop the bill of lading and start pursuing your money, and then sometimes you are even paying the supplier and the goods have not been cleared. And it's true, people take advantage of the system where they go, the customs guys will auction, and when they auction, they go and buy it, and then somebody may have an order, and then they sell the same thing back to ECG. It doesn't make sense.
Absolutely.
It's one of
somebody must be held responsible for it.
It's one of the things that, you know, we have to look at. So I'm happy the minister is taking a step.
Now, we're going to stay in the energy sector because the recent power outages in Kumasi have become a cause of worry to residents. What began as a few weeks ago as minutes of darkness has progressed to long hours of power cuts, leaving consumers unhappy and struggling to adapt. Irabna Akwe hits the city center to gauge the mood of power consumers and brings us this.
Parts of Kumasi have been plunged into darkness for the past few weeks, with some areas not having light at all for up to 24 hours. Despite this, the ECG in Kumasi says there is no power outages and that there is no doomso. They are only facing challenges with their system. Right now, we are on the street to engage with people. Let's hear what they have to say.
They need to consider much because if they come, people may say we are experiencing doomso. And I don't want to say it's back. I don't want to say because during the government, the Argon government, I didn't hear Kumasi people talking much about the light going off and on. So I don't want to start criticizing the new government that doomso is back. So let's wait a bit and see. Maybe during the 6th month on his office, we may be able to pass positive judgment on whether doomso is back or not.
Papa, me hokra dem kofi am din kan frɛ sɛ yɛdum light ana sɛ ɛwɔ esi.
Whenever I'm about to go home, I have to call and find out whether there is light, and there is usually no light. We are really suffering, especially in the Ashanti region. We plead for something to be done about it.
Nti yɛsrɛ ɔmonya ho bibi ma yɛ pa mo kyɛwa.
They should do what they want. People work with light, but there is no light. There is so much heat, especially when we go back to our homes in the evenings.
And you only Nipedia. And so Ghana, I see a Pentiana and Tiafanasa.
Some of them fight with their wives, go to work, and turn the lights off. They do whatever they want because they don't face any consequences. It is not the fault of the government, but ECG.
As you've heard from some people on the streets of Kumasi, clearly the power cut has been affecting them both at home and in their businesses. The ECG says they are putting measures on the way to solve the issue.
As we speak, we are also battling with the issues of underground cable fault being punctured by individuals. That is also resulting in outages to our cherished customers. You would realize that some contractors are even punching our cables. We've written to the RECSEC and then it's being considered. So the outages being experienced by our cherished customers, we want to apologize to them and I want to assure them that ECG is putting measures in place to resolve it. As we speak, the 145 MV has been commissioned, the underground cable fault has been resolved. But where there is any other outage, we will come out and then inform our customers.
My name is Irabna Akwe, reporting for Joy News, Kumasi.
Beauty report there from Irabna. But stay home and sip your coffee. That's the latest directive to members of the Civil and Local Government Staff Association Ghana, that is CLOSAG, as they prepare to lay down their tools in protest today. Their grievance, the appointment of Samuel Adumboche as Register of Births and Deaths, a move they argue is soaked in political bias. COSAC insists that Mr. Butcher is too politically exposed for the role and must be removed immediately. This standoff comes just hours after the government stood its ground, defending the appointment as entirely legal. At a press briefing, officials maintained that due process was followed and emphasized their willingness to engage in dialogue, though they argued or they urged COSAC to rethink its strike. Presidential spokesperson Felix Kwasi-Fosu made a direct appeal calling on the association to reconsider its stance and return to the table for discussions.
But government has to act on the basis of law. So we inquired as to what the premise for that demand is. If you are saying that a position should go to a civil servant, show us the basis for that position. They have been unable to show it. I have showed you the law and specific provisions, and you would all agree with me. Even if you have doubts about what I'm reading, you can dig up the law yourselves and read for yourself. Read section 2 of Act 1027, the Registration of Births and Deaths Act, and satisfy yourself as to who has the authority to make the appointment. And second, whether or not the law says anywhere that the position of the Registrar of the Births and Deaths Registry should be held by a civil servant. These, for me, are the issues at play. And to the extent that government has acted lawfully, regularly, and in accordance with the Constitution, I don't see why there should be an entrenched position on the matter. We certainly have not taken an entrenched position. We cannot act illegally simply because a section of our population, in this instance, Ghanaian workers, demand that we do. I don't think that it is fair to the people of Ghana, whose taxes are used to pay civil servants, those who work in COSAC, just like myself, the president, or everybody else who works within the public and civil service. You cannot take such a position, which is unfair to them, when the facts are very clear, the laws are very, very clear. If it was the case that government was violating the law, then you would have a basis. As I said, I'm aware that they went to court under the previous government. There's yet to be a determination on the matter. So if the matter has not been determined, there's no judicial pronouncement saying that the position of the law is wrong or what the president has done is wrong. I don't see why entrenched positions should be taken. I don't see why a nationwide strike should be declared.
That's Felix Kwasi-Fosu over there. But the group, however, maintains that he is not the right person for the job. Dr. Akufo-Addo is Executive Secretary of COSAC, and he stated that while they're open to dialogue, their position remains unchanged and they will proceed with their strike until their demands are met.
If we get any correspondence indicating that they want to dialogue, why not? We'll put it for that. They say they want to dialogue, so, but we've not had any correspondence. He quoted, we are not saying the president hasn't got any right to appoint. The act that he referred to is the same thing that is in 195 of the Constitution. All is appointments to public services are done by the president. Nobody is disputing that part. What we are saying, there is also a Supreme Court ruling, and we all know that when it comes to the Constitution, it is the Supreme Court that gives interpretation. And the Supreme Court ruling is saying that once your political coloring becomes overt, step away from the services. If he tells us that with Mr. Butcher's political leaning is not overt, there is got, but we all know that is an NDC activist. And the Supreme Court is saying that the moment your political coloring becomes overt, stay away from the services. Some of our members have been dismissed. You see the Supreme Court ruling. So this is our position. Well, as it stands, if we get an invitation, of course, yes, for dialogue, and tell that we are not saying this thing. But if this is what the Supreme Court is saying, all we ask our constituents to do is to sit down in their house and relax, take some coffee, and then watch Clock TV.
Labour consultant Austin Gami says the strike is not the best course of action and is urging the group to reconsider their approach in favour of dialogue.
Yes, workers have a right to go on strike, but it must be based on something. If it's just a question of the president appointing somebody into office, the authorized person by Article 195 of the Constitution is the president, who is entitled to appoint people into various offices. Under the Labour Law, Section 8A of the Labour Act, 651. As an employer representing the state, they are the only authorized bodies to appoint people to various offices. The approach is what should be a source of problem for even themselves. That the way to go about this is not about going on strike. It's about engagement. It's about dialogue. So I don't know who is advising that they should go on strike to have their matter resolved. So they have to reconsider the concerns that they have.
In other news, the Member of Parliament for Kumewu, Ernest Yao Enim, is collaborating with the District Education Directorate to make education accessible to students in hard-to-reach communities in the area. Despite the availability of infrastructure such as classroom blocks at Bahankra, Domase and Mobia, pupils in scattered hamlets are forced to trek several kilometers to access school. Officials at the Setre Kumewu District Education Directorate say the development makes schooling unattractive as many pupils are forced to drop out. There's more in this report.
The Setre Kumewu district is one of the deprived districts in the Ashanti region characterized by poor education outcomes. Determined to improve falling education standards, the Member of Parliament for the area, Ernest Yao Enim, has since 2023 introduced interventions to improve the situation. This includes the introduction of pupils to practical information and communications technology with a donation of computers to all junior high schools, the provision of exercise and notebooks, and the introduction of a teachers' award scheme for exemplary work. 61 teachers and non-teaching staff were honored at the first ever award event, which saw awardees go home with motorbikes, refrigerators, television sets, laptops, amongst others. District Director of Education Kwame Oduowusu says schools in the hard-to-reach communities lack teachers and accommodation. While commending the MP for instituting a Teachers Award scheme which saw teachers in the hard-to-reach areas being rewarded with motorbikes for dedication of service, he called for support for pupils and teachers.
When teachers are motivated, they tend to bring out the best. And so now that some of them have been awarded, I believe that others will also want to be awarded next year. And so they will all bring in their best, and it will go a long way to help in our children's ability as far as education is concerned. We have about 3 or 4 places that we will describe as hard to reach. And these areas, some of them, you wouldn't see a complete town. It's like settlements, and children come from various houses to the school. So the school is central at a place. And so teachers who work there, they don't even have a place to stay. And so they have to commute from far areas to be able to reach the children. When you look at a place like Mobia, where we have a playground, there's only one teacher there. He handles from P1 to P3, even KG. And we are trying to get more people, but he is working, he's doing his best. And I believe that awards like this will motivate others to go to such areas. We also have Domase and Bahankra, which are also difficult to reach.
The MP told the award ceremony he is concerned about the plight of the poor pupils who struggle daily to access education in difficult-to-reach areas. According to him, he wants to be remembered as a member of parliament who changed the face of education in the area.
I want to leave behind a legacy. That legacy where Kumewu will remind me for every good thing we did within our educational sector. We awarded one of the difficult areas, the teachers with a motorbike. What I'm planning to do is to do more. You go to areas like Bahankra, Domase, students find it hard to commute to schools. Those are some of the issues I'm thinking about. How do we get students to their schools? I'm thinking, do we provide means of transportation from the chalets of Domase, chalet of Bahankra, to where we have these schools? And those are areas I'm thinking around. And I believe that going forward, we are looking at extending our focus to other areas. Now we have only one teacher at Mobia. My goal is to get at least 4 or 5 teachers at Mobia by the next time we hold such an event.
Meanwhile, Paulina Akufo-Addo of Kumewu Anglican JHS has been awarded the overall Best Teacher Award for the Setwe Kumewu district. She took home a refrigerator, a certificate, a plaque, and cash prize of 3,000 Ghana cedis. Ohim Interiors reports for Joy News.
It's time now to get into our business update, served by Samuel Kojo Brace.
Let's do the business updates now, and we start from how the currencies are performing today. Away from that, business groups are mounting pressure on government to come up with innovative ways of enforcing the tax laws to rope in more businesses into the tax net. Their concern is coming at a time government has indicated that it will be heavy on tax compliance measures in the 2025 budget. Speaking to Joy Business, Greater Accra Regional Chairman of the Association of Ghana Industries, Chonam Akekblo, said the right infrastructure must be adopted to ensure businesses in the formal and informal sectors of the economy pay the right taxes.
There are several huge mansions all over the city of Accra. They are not paying taxes. Most of them, not that they don't want to pay taxes, but nobody goes to them for taxing. Look, I have a friend in East Legon. He lived all his life in the US. He's back home. He's been asking how he can pay his tax on his house. And as of today, nobody goes to his house to collect tax. So we would like to see the infrastructure put in place to collect tax from all of these real estate owners and so on. And if we're able to do that effectively, that will be one of the surest ways to mobilize money. Enforcement using the Buga mechanism have not worked. Coming to lock our offices and all of that is never worked. So there has to be a more innovative ways of ensuring that people comply. We are going to be engaging GRA on this Friday and other government officials about how best to have this done. But we are sure that once the systems are put in to ensure that everybody within a tax network is able to pay tax, that's one of the surest ways.
Very well.
That system, government has to think through and create it. And we're happy to support in making sure that it works.
Well, the Bank of Ghana continues to increase the amount of dollars it sells to commercial banks in the country. There's more in the following Business Desk report.
The Bank of Ghana has been heavy on the market in terms of dollar support over the past 3 weeks. It has also been consistent in terms of the timelines for carrying out the required auctions for commercial banks. For instance, on Tuesday, the Bank of Ghana, through the 7-day auction, announced that it was going to sell some $60 million. However, official results showed that only $49 million were taken up by the banks. This has led to some arguing that not all the amount supplied has even been taken up by the market, signaling less dollar demand over the past 2 weeks. The city's performance has also been complemented by improved dollar supply from the interbank market, as well as some dollar inflows coming from the offshore investors that are participating in the second bond market. The city is currently trading at 15 cedis 80 pesos among the forex bureaus, down from the over 16 cedis a week ago. Some have also argued that if the city is able to withstand the first quarter pressure, then we could be assured that the outlook will not be that bad for the rest of the year.
Well, let's wrap up the business update with what is happening in the commodities market. for the business update on the AM News. Back to you, Sweetie Abochi.
Thank you, Kojo Brace. That's it for the news, the AM News Bulletin on the AM show. Stay for the news review. Our guest today, Awal Mohammed, former head for Youth Employment Agency, and Timothy Awuntrim is former member of Parliament for Bilsa North. Please stay. We'll be back in a bit. Hey. Good morning again and welcome to the AM show. This is the news review segment and we are live. Samuel Kojo Brace and I, Sweetie Abochi, are here to steer the conversations for you. In the studio with us this morning, Timothy Awuntrim, former member of Parliament for Bilsa North. Sir, good morning and welcome to the AM show. That's a lovely green you have on.
You're also looking lovely.
Oh, thank you.
The Green Army. The Green Army.
The Green Army?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yes. Yeah. You've brought my mind back to something. Anyway, today is not a green day.
What day is it?
It's an AM show.
Yeah.
Good morning to you, my brother.
Good morning, sir.
Good morning to our viewers out there. It's a beautiful Thursday, and I wish that the day goes well as His mercies will be showered upon us this morning.
Amen. You know how it is. Usually we'll give you some time to reflect on any topical issue. There's a lot happening in the country.
A lot.
I think energy, education, politics.
Energy.
Yeah.
And what is, let me say once again, good morning to our viewers out there. One of the mind-boggling issue and an issue that I've been putting my head together and I cannot get the head and tail of it is the ECG problem. Absolutely unbelievable that you import goods worth 500,000 Ghana cedis. And the same goods, you leave them there for demurrage to cut them, and an individual buys them at 100,000 and resell it back to the institution. What are we doing to this country? And remember the PricewaterhouseCoopers did an audit on them and said they've been under-declaring revenue and so on. In billions, not in hundreds, in billions of Ghana cedis. Can you imagine a huge institution that any mismanagement that can collapse this country, because everything in this country is tied to energy. And even the cost of energy. And the fact that consumers, poor consumers, continue to pay their bills. You buy your credit and then within some few weeks or so, it's gone out. And yet those who collect these monies do under declaration. For what purpose would you do? And can you imagine how long it's been going on? That is why when issues of you want the private sector to participate, not completely take over, but to participate in the management of ECG, and especially our energy sector, there's always a hula baloo because workers think that they are going to be taken away. But you are employed to take care of the people of this country and to manage such an important resource to the best of the people of this country. And this is what goes out through leakages. It's unbelievable.
Well. I'm just
today
curious.
We are looking at, and ECG has the capacity to clear goods. Sometimes the problem is that these are government institutions, ECG, and then the ports. Can there be a collaboration? Can there be an issue that, look, I cannot clear my goods for now, but I've been doing business with you. You know my financial capability. Can I clear my goods, even to a warehouse? When I have my finances right, I can come and pay off. It means it's a well-rehearsed agenda by some people to make money out of this. So you had 300,000 and you could not pay for the cost of importation. You allow a private man to buy it at 100,000 Ghana cedis. Then you use the same $300,000 that you should have used part to clear the container and then pay for it. Which countries does that? It means they have the money.
Yes.
Because you turn around and pay for the container at $300,000.
Well.
That means you could have cleared it. I don't believe that the cost of clearance would have been up to 300,000 Ghana cedis. $300,000. So these are the issues that have been bothering me. And you see, when these things happen, it makes the people lose confidence in state institutions and our ability to man our own institutions to the best of our knowledge. So sometimes you bring in foreign people to handle these institutions for purposes of recapitalization, and the people rise up against them and say, no, we are not supposed to have foreigners and so on. But look at what has happened to our own country.
Well,
and I think that's
now
about time the media plays, you've been playing your role anyway, let me congratulate you for some of these exposés. In fact, if you look, especially your medium, you've been doing a lot of expose. Even some issues that happen at the rural areas that we do not know, is the media that comes in. But we need to do more and support you in the issues of investigating state institutions. And this brings to mind why we must necessarily do a forensic audit on every institution under the sun in this government. We have to do so that we know the way we are moving forward and the amount of money that we've lost and so on.
Right.
Some of these institutions are rather milking us too much. Take them from ECG to water to even Ghana, the National Identification Authority. Take it to even the National Health Insurance. Take it to
National Service Secretariat.
National Service Secretariat. You can't believe it. You just cannot believe it. Can you imagine?
I mean, you were a member of parliament, and you are here expressing all these stories, coming out. Imagine how we ordinary citizens feel about these stories, these exposés when they come out. I'm only saying that to make a point that at the point where you had the power, what did you do about it?
We did a lot, because when you look at the Auditor's General report, when we were leaving office, the total amount of malfeasance and financial malpractices was less than $1 billion. In fact, it was between 800 million. So we expected a government that took over the Akufo-Addo administration to continue to bring it down from 800 million that we left for you. When they were leaving office, the Auditor General report tells us that over 54 billion has not been accounted. 54 billion has not been accounted for. The first year they took over, it rose from 800 million to 12 billion. It came down the following year to 5 billion. Then it went up again. It continued cumulatively. I remember, I think as we talked this morning, Pebu and other lawyers have sent the case to court. And that was a time we're expecting the Auditor General to surcharge institutions and use the power of disallowance and so on. It never happened. When Dom Lovo, who was, for now, we may call him an anti-corruption guru, was fighting this, you saw what happened to him, including when he even went to pension, he went to the holy, what do you call it, the leave and care. He was told that he was a Togolese. Beyond the fact that he was a Togolese, even they changed his locks. So if a government is poised to fight corruption and under your regime, Auditor General report, you appointed the Auditor General himself after Domlovo. These are the reports, cutting across every, including the presidency. We cannot have a corruption-free society, but there must be measures, and people should be seen to be doing a lot of policy to ensure that corruption is reduced to the barest minimum.
Well, so for me, to learn for us.
Let's for me, I think that, yes, we were in power before. We couldn't have fought corruption to a zero tolerance level, but the auditor's report showed that we did a lot more in terms of corruption, including the NACAP, the policy framework that we did with Shrag to ensure the investigation. You could see the investigation that went on. John Dramani Mohamed's own minister, and then were jailed and his chief executive and so on. These are issues we should not recall, but we should continue to inch higher. We should continue to ensure that corruption becomes a no-go area. We all want money, but when it is true, look, Ghanaians are prepared to give you some allowance of stealing, but when you go to what we are seeing today, they will not allow you.
Let's...
But you see, the ECG issue that he brought up is a critical one. And it doesn't mean that when we say private participation, it should necessarily be foreign-owned. It could be Ghanaian-owned, but there must, so it is a must, where we are now, there must be a private participation in ECG issues.
Especially when it comes to revenue collection.
Exactly. We cannot leave it to the same thing.
Collection.
Because you cannot do same things and demand different results. It doesn't happen. you need to change your strategy to then demand or expect a different result. From how things are being run by the state cannot continue to be the one running ECG. We should and must allow the private sector. Look, PDS, but for some of the preconditions that they didn't meet, we also, within the short time they came, the difference they brought to ECG. So let's try and get a private participation. That was Ghanaian-led, right? Yeah. Let's get one like that, but ensure that they fulfill every precondition before we hand it over to them. And I think they'll bring a difference, because these containers that we hear were left there for the state to pay demurrage, and then it's auctioned, and we use the same hard currency to go and buy it again. It doesn't make sense. Even those of us running small bojo businesses, we can't run our businesses this way. How much more running a multi-million-dollar company like ECG? You cannot do that. I mean, those of us who are, look, if you see any small thing, a deviation from what you expect should happen in your business, you question all your managers. If it has to be sacked, you have to sack someone, you sack. How much more the state company? So look,
sometimes it's sad to hear these.
I think 3 months, they lost so much million. You saw that issue. It came up at the Auditor General within 3 months. So much billion, not millions, so it's gone into private.
But you know, every year they report revenue losses and system losses, and nobody does anything. Oh, 2 billion is gone. 2 billion is gone. We've lost it.
That is the issue.
And that's it. Nobody does anything.
Yeah.
So really,
look at the case involving the, I think, Global Fund that brought those antiretroviral drugs for HIV and what.
Left at the ports.
We left them at the ports. Why do we do that to ourselves? Look at the issue of the ambulances. They were locked at the port. Often what I say is that if there's a change of government, and which is necessary, look at the National Service scandal. If there hadn't been a change of government, the other government that would have taken over, probably the Dr. Bawumia's group, wouldn't have had the balls to be able to investigate its past. So when it's a new government, at least we're able to know the extent of rot. We're able to expose these. And when we expose them, then we'll look at the way forward. How on earth would Global Fund bring drugs to this country, and then you allow them to gather demurrage? There's something that I don't get, and I keep asking the question. Is there no collaboration between the state institutions? GPHA is a state institution, is that not it?
Yes.
ECG is a state institution. In fact, they even take light from ECG, is that not it? They supply them light.
Yeah.
How come they couldn't work out the mathematics and say, take your items, and later on work out the mathematics? It's for the people of this country.
That's very true.
I can't believe it.
No, but you see, when a group of people collude to deny the state what it deserves, this is what happens. Because it would have been simpler for the two entities to say, you are a service provider to me.
Yes.
I'm also a service provider to you.
Yes.
Okay, if you owe me, let's do better.
Yes.
Right? Because at the end of the day, the money is coming into one coffers, the Ghana bank account.
If they do that, how will they?
Exactly.
We like to be politically correct in this country. So just a second. It's something that we've accepted it. When you do it, you don't want to be exposed. But when someone is, on to you, then you feel triggered. Then you want to expose what the other person did wrong or didn't do right. So we are just always pointing accusing fingers at each other without actually dealing or tackling the problem head on. And we keep doing this over and over and over again. Sometimes it's almost as if you're watching a movie in this country. So imagine $500,000. We just threw it away. Anyway, make your point now.
Anyway.
Look, there's just this point I want to put to food for thought. Look, sometimes I cringe and I begin to ask, why would a government institution, for instance, GES or Ministry of Education, buy state land from another institution? Do you understand? Can the mathematics be made? Where are they paying the money into? Do you get the point I'm making? Sometimes GES or Ministry of Education wants land to put up a government project. That land is owned by Ministry of Health. then GS will go and buy the land from Minister of Health. I just can't believe what is happening. And I think that these are things that when we are moving forward, we should ensure that state institutions go by the principles for accountability and so on to ensure that there's judicious use of public resources, be they cash, be they otherwise. If not, at the end of the day, we'll come crying the same thing, looking at corruption over and over. And the people who benefit from it are Awal and myself here. Because we are the people who have gone to the university.
Well, since you mentioned him, let's introduce him into the conversation.
It is not our brothers in the village.
Yeah.
It is not our mothers and sisters in the village. It is we those who have gone to school, even lawyers.
Awal Mohammed is former head of communications at Youth Employment Agency. He joins us now. Welcome.
Thank you.
I like your traditional outfit.
Thank you so much.
We're just, actually, we started with Mr. Wontrim's take for us this morning. We went through ECG, some of the issues plaguing this country. We want to get into the papers, but let's give you some time to also reflect on any topical issue on your mind.
Okay, thank you so much, and good morning to our cherished viewers. And I'm sorry for coming in late. I don't know if Mr. Atabodi has cast some spell on me. Anytime I'm meeting him, I come in late.
Then I'll have to go and tighten the spell very well.
So I think I still will be part of those who will, because, you know, I'm from an employment agency, and the directive by the Chief of Staff, I will still implore President Mahama to take a second look at that, looking at his promise to the people of this country, especially the youth of this country, on employment. So you came with a banner that you are doing 24-hour economy. I remember there was a commercial being played even on Joy here, that 3 shifts. Some will come in the morning, others will come in the afternoon, others will come at night. And I've heard some of the appointees saying that they will even start from their end. And now you're saying that we should, some people who are Ghanaians who pass through the process and they are employed, you're saying that these people should lose their job.
No, but that's the argument, though. Passing through the process. The argument they're making is that they didn't, in fact, pass through the process. A lot of them pass through the process. If you have worked with the public service, you will know that there is no way someone can be appointed just within the month that we lost the elections. But that's what they're saying, that it happened.
Okay, so you see...
Someone didn't even apply, but it happened. Those are the irregularities that they're citing.
Let me give you a simple scenario. At Youth Employment Agency, we were billed to employ over 700 staff. We started the process somewhere in May, but we couldn't get the financial clearance for all of them. We only got financial clearance for 300. As at the time we lost the elections, we were chasing Abina Osei-Asare, the Deputy Minister for Finance, for the financial clearance for the 300 people. We were not given. So we couldn't employ the 300 people. I'm telling you this for a fact, from Youth Employment Agency. We couldn't employ the 300 extra, but we were able to really start the process around May, do everything and complete with, because we needed technical clearance from Public Services Commission, then financial clearance from the Ministry of Finance. We got the financial technical clearance. We did all the interviews for all of them. But unfortunately, we didn't get the financial clearance, so we couldn't even employ.
Right.
So I know that a lot of the agencies went through all the process. Look at GS, for instance. It's incongruous for you to tell me that at January, if someone is not on the payroll, then the person's appointment should be revoked. They were employed in August. And GES have to go through rigorous processes before they will have to validate their certificates. They will have to go and validate whether the person is where he has been posted. Then they will be given their IDs. That is what the controller will stand on to pay them. So some have even started receiving pay. Yesterday I was on Joy Prime. They interviewed one of them. And he says that he has only received 2 months. The rest of his colleagues who didn't even receive anything have been asked to go home.
I get what you're saying. It sounds like you're coming from a human interest side of the story.
Yes.
But I'm saying, if indeed what they're saying that there were so many irregularities and they couldn't find even one. We spoke to, what was it, Felix Kwachifosu, and he said they couldn't even find one person who went through the due processes.
Which
if that is the truth, what would you have them do?
This is just...
You mentioned that they came on the back of jobs and accountability and all that. If it's true that these people were employed through illegal means or there were some procedural breaches in there, wouldn't you let them clear those so that the people who are qualified, deserving, can go through the due processes?
Why the haste? Can't we wait until we finish all these things? I remember when we came in 2017, we sacked people from national services, about 500 people. We sacked them from national service because they did not go through the rigorous process through public services. They went to court. Edwige Tamakulu was their lawyer. They lost because we were right by sacking them.
So now I think some people are pursuing legal action. So if indeed they are right, then there's nothing to worry about, is there?
What I wanted is specifics of the institutions. For instance, if Felix Kwacho-Fosu will be magnanimous enough to tell us that these institutions, people didn't go through the processes and they were employed. For instance, the nurses. Look at the pushback from even GRNA. They are saying that some people have been posted from the south to the north. The person has started work for 2 months. Because the person is not on the payroll, you are telling the person to... And these are people who have even automatic employment.
Yeah.
These are 2020 batch. If you're even in 2021, you will never get through it because they use their index number to employ them. So I am begging on President Mahama. You came on the banner of giving a lot of jobs, especially the 3 shifts. Someone has employed a 1 shift. So just go on with your policies and add the 2 shifts so that at least Ghanaians will get some respite.
Okay. Well, I'm sure they're listening and they will listen to you. Let's get into the newspapers.
Are you still at the YEA?
No.
Yes.
Oh.
Yes.
You're still there?
Yes.
Okay.
I've been seconded to the ministry.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
I remember when we came in 2017, that was what happened. A lot of the all the top managers were sent to the ministry to work there.
Okay.
So
you've also been sent.
Yes.
Okay.
Let's get into the papers.
All right, let's start with the Ghanaian.
Some of the stories will pop up and you get a bite, yeah.
Now, this one says, let's prioritize organic fertilizer in crop production. And that's according to Professor David Miller, president of Miller Open University. Prove your critics wrong. President Mahama urges reconstituted Council of State. Albert Jumfo says government GJA to meet over journalist safety. Ghana Health Service dedicate health desk at regional district hospitals to support persons with disability. But if you go to page 3, Gregory Afoko files for another bail application. Well, Gregory Afoko, the man accused of conspiring with Alangdi Asabki in 2015 to kill Adams Mahama, former Upper East Regional Chairman of the New Patriotic Party, has filed another bail application before the Accra High Court. The application, filed on February 17, is the 3rd time the accused is praying the court to grant him bail in the course of the 9 years alleged criminal trial. On April 27, 2023, a jury returned a 4-3 verdict of not guilty against Afoko on the charges of conspiracy to commit murder and murder. Per the verdict, Afoko was to be retried as his alleged accomplice, Asabki, was handed sentence to death by hanging by the court. Alangdi was to be sent to the gallows after a 7-member jury unanimously found him guilty of conspiracy to commit murder. Well, this is where we are. This is the 3rd time he's applying for bail. The other time he was granted bail, right? Yeah. The last time they went to court,
yes,
I think he was granted bail,
but they couldn't meet the
bail terms.
The bail terms, yes.
Okay, interesting. Really?
I don't think.
I remember at a point in time they couldn't.
What were the bail terms that they could not meet? What were the bail terms? And I know that the Afoko family has the capacity to meet the bail terms.
Are you sure? Are you sure?
I'm sure. I'm sure
he's from there.
His big brother is Paul Afoko.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's a big. And I call him a cousin too. He comes from my place and so on. I know the family very well. And I know that the Afoko family has the capacity to grant the bail in terms of even movable or immovable property, or even in terms of kind of have that. But you see, the issue of not granting bail is an issue that when the bail was granted and he was forcefully pushed back into prison up to that. I think it's unfair. And it's happened under the President Akufo-Addo, who is a human rights lawyer. And I've seen a lot of lawyers talk about the fact that Gregory Afoko has been treated unfairly. He didn't put himself there. It was the state prosecutors that sent him there. You must adduce concrete evidence to ensure that the guy is guilty. And even granting him bail doesn't mean that he's been left off the hook. There could even be new evidence that will be unearthed later on to ensure that the guy is found. You can bring him back, but to continue to incarcerate him when the court of competent jurisdiction has granted him bail, I think it's unfair to Afoko Gregory himself and the family at large. Can you imagine the pain that the family has gone through, the resources they've gone through, getting lawyers to defend him? This is the first time, and these are the issues. When the new Attorney General goes through and sees that he has no case and he will grant him bail, then our brothers come and say, oh, you are filing nulli prosequi, you are granting bail and so on. But we all know that if the treatment that is given to the Afoko family is given to you, today you are not going to accept it, and you feel that you have been unfairly treated. Once the man went before a competent court, like he read this morning, is it 2-3 against, I think the majority decision?
No, it was 4-3.
Fine. And if also,
according to the law, when it is 4-3 in a murder, that means it has to be retried. In a murder, it has to be unanimous for it to be.
So if the appeal process has not been done, and the guy, it's like you are showing brute strength, whether they like or not, we have to put him there. So and I think that the current Attorney General will look at it and then go in accordance with the law.
Well, in 2019, he was granted bail. He was admitted, not granted, admitted to a bail in the sum of 500,000 Ghana cedis with 2 sureties, one of whom must be justified. That's what the Daily Graphic Online reported. It says that as part of the bail conditions, the court, presided over by Mr. Justice George Bwedi, also ordered Afoko to report himself to the Criminal Investigations Department of the Ghana Police Service every 2 weeks. The bail was as a result of a bail application filed by Afoko's lawyers. But if he was admitted to it, why is he still in
that is the
custody
issue
there?
that we've all been talking about. I've seen great lawyers on even your platform and other platforms who talked about unfair treatment, and I'm saying that it is now time, once they file this, and they'll go into the merits and demerits of the case and come out with appropriate. But I think that Gregory Afoko should be freed. He has suffered a lot, and for now, you cannot continue to hold him incarcerated when you haven't adduced fresh evidence against him. The evidence could come in future, but for now, let's go according to what the law says, and I pray that he should be granted bail. Granting bail doesn't mean that he's free of the hook, but at least he can get a chance to interact with the family.
It's also important we add that on January 28, 2019, the AG filed a nulli prosequi to discontinue the trial following the arrest of the other suspect. You know, Asagbi was on the run. Now, when they got him, the AG filed that one, but Afoko and Alangbi were then put before the Accra Central District Court on provisional charges of conspiracy to commit murder and murder for committal proceedings, which are a prelude to the trial at the High Court. Anyway.
Yes, you see, I think it's long overdue. Looking at criminal jurisprudence, there is a case in the that was sent to the Supreme Court by lawyer Martin Kwebu, which says that now almost all the crimes are bailable. So, but you see, this is murder. And even though murder is bailable, but it is alleged that there were 2 people who committed the murder. Asapke was tried in absentia. Now, because they got Asapke, they felt that Asapke will be able to really speak to the issues very well. I think that's the reason they were still keeping him there, so that at least they listen, because they listened to him, after listening to him, 3 of the judges felt that he committed that murder. 4 said he didn't commit that murder. Now, his supposed accomplice is in, and they felt that if his accomplice is in, then he will now be able to speak to the matter, because the gentleman was only trialed in absentia and was sentenced to death by hanging. Now the gentleman is in, who can give fresh evidence and so on. But I think there is nothing wrong with granting him bail, even if he will be reporting at the police station every day or every 2 days, so that at least he gets some... suspects must be treated with some courtesies.
Okay, well, let me bring in that an Accra High Court, this is in July 15, or on July 15, 2019, says an Accra High Court has reversed a bail granted Gregory Afoko, one of the suspects being prosecuted over the murder of former Upper East Regional Chairman of the New Patriotic Party, Adams Mahama. Yes. The court had earlier in March 2019 granted the suspect bail to the tune of 500,000 cedis. Yeah. But the state ignored the court ruling and continued to hold the suspect in custody for about 3 months. So it means we are now being told the state did that.
Yes. Yeah. Yes. Yes.
Now, the decision of the court follows an application made by the Attorney General, represented in court by Chief State Attorney Marina Appiah-Opare on Monday. According to Madam Appiah-Opare, Mr. Afoko will not show up for trial in court if the court does not rescind the bail granted him over 3 months ago by a different High Court judge. He says the application was opposed by lawyers for Mr. Afoko, who reminded the court that another High Court judge had assessed the fact of the matter and ruled that Mr. Afoko should be granted bail. So these are two separate courts here. Yes, yes. One granted bail, one I agreed with the state that he had to be kept in custody. He said some of the cases related to a contempt ruling against the IGP and said it was slated for July, blah, 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 blah. So, look, the guy was granted bail. The state then decided to go against the court. How can the state do that?
Reversing that.
No, yes.
Yeah. You see, well, as I said, you wouldn't know the thinking of the state. You understand, because this borders on national security, this borders on murder.
But it also borders on rule of law, the law.
That human rights. True. Yeah. That is true. That is true. So that's why I'm saying that keeping him there will not serve any purpose to me, looking at the longer time the trial has taken. But one thing is for sure is that the person who is alleged to have been his accomplice has been arrested. So it means the person will speak. And they think that they will be able to really get some information from Asabke Alande, so that at least Asabke either confirm or deny whether he did the same thing with the man. And again, now he'll be listened to, because initially he was just sentenced when he was not there. He had to run away and he was arrested. Then now they have started a fresh trial. They said they did not give him this bail because they couldn't constitute the jury. Now, I'm sure by 5th March, when the jury is constituted, they will look into it and give him the bail.
Just by way of okay, get a final.
I just wanted to say that I'm really not getting it. A high court grants someone a bail and another high court would undo the bail. I think it should have gone to an appeal court. I don't know, I'm not a lawyer. Because how can one high court with the same powers grant bail and another court with the same powers also revoke the bail? It should have been an appeal process. I don't know what went in, and I cannot also comment so much. But I think that, like we were all discussing,
I think he was rearrested and sent to the other high court.
Following what? When the state...
Just after the bail, because I read that the family said it is not true that they couldn't meet the bail conditions. You know, it was the former Attorney General who said that.
And you see, if I want to hazard a guess and go beyond the discussion and try to unveil the veil covering this issue, you could directly link this particular case to his senior brother, Paul Afoko, who was one time national chairman of the MPP, but his chairmanship was removed by his differences with the president then. And I believe that it is a way to invariably send the pain to him as a result of that. And also, there was a political... That is what I'm saying, that I'm doing this. I'm trying to decode, you see, why a person who has been granted bail has been put there by the state. You cannot do that when you don't have the cohesive powers of the state. It is those powers that has enabled them to do that. And now the government that did that has been disabled now. They don't have power. And I think that the cause...
No, the state is doing the prosecution, not really any government.
Awal.
It's the state prosecutor.
The state is not a human being. It's a human being that does it.
But when you say the government is gone, as if it is some kind of persecution.
But we know government is a continuous, so there's one administration and then there's another.
Talking about. We all know.
Don't do propaganda.
It's not propaganda. That's what I'm saying. Now we are trying to decode how a fellow who has been granted bail can be incarcerated for the past 80 years. Like you said and I said here, it doesn't mean that when you are granted the bail, you've been left off the book.
I agree.
You can always be brought back. That's why there's a surety and there's also a bail conditions that you must meet before you are given. And
but
like I told initially, the brother has the capacity to meet the bill, or the Afoko family has the capacity. I know the family very well. Any of them, including his brothers, leave Paul Afoko aside. The family has the capacity to stand surety in terms of cash and properties. They can do that. But I think the government ignored all this and said, look, the guy must go there because, you see, it involved the murder. While we are talking about these things, we are also not oblivious of the fact that someone's life got lost. A family is reeling under the pain of that, you understand? So we must be a little circumspect in our comments in terms of the granting of the pay, just opposing that with the family that are reeling under the pain.
Yeah, because if you go to Bolga, I even know the guy who died. In fact, the properties are still there. That, no one is even continuing the processes. The chairman who died.
His uncle in Sandema. And he's I can call him a son because of the uncle. That's the way we did. Beyond that, I knew him long ago. I remember when I even came to Parliament, I called him. I called him because he was doing contract. Let me put this on record. He was doing contract. And there was the fear that when we took over power, we were going to cancel it. I called him and I assured him, Adams, he knows me, he knows my family. We sit together and so on. When it happened, it was devastating to all of us. Because knowing Adams who he is, he's quite a gentleman. He's open-minded guy to everybody and so on. It was unfortunate it happened. But you see, going by the law and what the law says, what we are all talking about this morning, we are not saying that Greg is guilty or not guilty, but the law says that free the guy for some time. Then you can always call him back.
But you see, there is a precedence in this country. But you see, someone was granted bail.
Gentlemen, we do have to, manage the time. There's so many stories we should get into. So just to end,
someone was granted bail in this country. The person jumped bail, and the person was sentenced in absentia, and the person is still there. Ghana couldn't even extricate the person. That's Sedenam Tamakulu. She was granted bail. Two people stood surety. They charged them and took the money from them, and she couldn't come back. They couldn't produce her.
Because
let's stay on the courts and law and all that, but on a different matter.
There's another one.
Kumi's case is very interesting. I saw a video of him leaving Parliament yesterday when the High Court issued a bench warrant for him. So this man...
What of the man who left?
There was an injunction. There was an interim injunction on him saying that don't go to Parliament to be sworn in on January 7th. He actually went and was sworn in. And during the entire time the court was hearing the case, he didn't appear before court. Yeah. And now...
He's a member of Parliament.
But there was an interim injunction on you, not to be sworn in. So the mistake was, why was he sworn in when there was an interim injunction on this man? And then Minority writes to the judge saying that he was busy with parliamentary business. First of all, you were not even supposed to be there in the first place. So that was the first mistake. Now, I saw the video of him leaving Parliament, and Kweku Asante tried to catch up with him, and I thought it was quite interesting. It was just hours after the bench warrant was issued, and we saw him leaving Parliament, packing his things and leaving. But what do you make of it? I mean, we know that the first mistake...
As in he's leaving the office.
I'm just looking at it now. No, just leaving the house, leaving the chamber. No.
He was sneaking out. He wasn't leaving.
I'm trying not to use the word sneaking.
No, he sneaked out.
Did he?
Even he dodged the cameras there.
Ah, well. But the cameras still caught him. I'm watching it right here.
Yes.
What did you make of it?
But won't he be protected by the parliamentary privileges, as you call it?
No.
That's why Afenyo Makin wrote to...
No. Afenyo Makin is being mischievous. You don't even need to be a lawyer. Parliamentary privileges goes with responsibilities. It doesn't mean that we should flout the judiciary orders, or the judiciary is an arm of government. Parliament is an arm of government, and the executive too. There's a need. That's why the issue of separation of powers, checks and balances is brought to the Constitution to ensure that they function independently in terms of function and personnel. So if you take your privileges that you are operating under and abuse the judiciary, they must exact the law that will punish you and serve as a deterrent to other members of Parliament. Well, we know in this country, when other members of Parliament were charged and they were asked to be going to the court daily basis. In fact, since I was born, that was the time I heard that people should be going to court daily basis. And they did. Ayarga and Co were sometime, and Mama Ayarga, currently the majority, there was sometime hauled before the court. Other members have hauled before the court. The court has jailed other members of Parliament too. So he's not above the law. And I think that Afenyo Makin, as an officer of the court and of Parliament, should be ensuring that respect to the state institution is upheld. It will be dangerous if we continue to use our positions as members of parliament to thwart the smooth operation of the judiciary. When we do that, what lessons are we leaving for the young? Is it because we have power today and the minority say they are going to respond? Respond to what? The man should go to a court and respond because he's needed at the court. He's not needed at parliament. Even the belligerents with which the minority exhibit and say the guy should be sworn in office and he will face the consequences therein. And if the consequences are coming, look, what he has done is serious. It's very serious. I remember in the case of Judge Kwesi, when the issues of the court were brought up, you know, he was to be sworn in parliament and take part in the voting. The minority went to the High Court, I think in the Central Region, got an injunction or
yes,
so.
And he was sworn in.
Please listen. How was the injunction transmitted? Was it by drone? Did you use your drones to take the injunction? The court registrar brought it when the thing was around 6 a.m. to Parliament. That was where the issue, and they could not effect the 7. So Parliament took a key from it and said that its lawyers should receive the letter inviting him, what is the name? The injunction notice. And the clerk of Parliament was clear and unambiguous when he stated that if he's sworn in, he does it at the peril of his own life and at his duty, and Parliament has no hand. He said it publicly, and here we are today. The consequences of if they don't exact the right punishment, it means that we are not going to respect the judiciary, and that when people have power and money, they can really bully their way through. Right. We've seen other people
let's hear
who,
all out.
Yes,
who just mere content. Even when you cough in the court proceeding, or you record, you can be charged for contempt.
Apenyo maintains that the way we are treating Mr. Kumi is very unfair.
Yes, you see, there is a precedence in this country. In the Judge Kwesi case,
There's no
we secured an injunction.
Never served Parliament.
There was an injunction which was served. At a point in time, you were saying that the person who came was not the registrar and so on. That was the bone of contention, but it was served.
Okay, we listen to you. Let's hear him
even
out.
At the swearing in, Afenyo Maki stood and said that he will face the consequences because there is an injunction. The NDC said yes, led by Harun Idris, who said that yes, they are really ready to face the consequences of that. That wasn't really enforced, to be very honest. It was not enforced. But this one, they have enforced it. Don't forget that Ernest Kumi is a legitimate member of parliament today.
No. Is he?
Yes, he is.
That is the whole question we are asking.
No, but he is.
But once he's been sworn in,
he is.
Onto the court of
attendance. It doesn't override the fact that there was an injunction that he is to face.
The EC gazetted him. The EC will gazette you before you are even sworn in as member of parliament. The EC will have to gazette you and present it to parliament. He was gazetted.
The case was before court. Is that not it?
No. I'm saying that he was gazetted by the EC.
There was an interim injunction.
Interim injunction.
Yeah. They hadn't started hearing. So
I am saying right now that he is the substantive MP for Akwatia because he was gazetted, he was sworn in as member of parliament, and he was also continuing with his duties as member of parliament, which was not objected by anyone.
The injunction
he had contributed throughout.
That's not correct. When you say it was not objected, the case was being heard and he never showed up in court.
I'm saying
because
that in parliament,
to him, he was busy with parliament.
Yes, exactly. I'm saying that he contributed his quota to parliament throughout his tenure for the last 1 month, and he has been vocal in parliament and so on. And nobody, nobody prevented him from doing so. Now the minority is saying that we want to see the ruling so that at least we advise ourselves on it. Let's wait for the ruling, because what I know is that members of parliament, as he is, have some immunities. I remember Felix, the MP for Kwame Danso, served with him together. At a point in time,
which Felix?
Felix Chumasi.
Chumasi appear.
Yes. At a point in time, some people accuse him of some business that went wrong, and they wanted to arrest him. They couldn't arrest him.
No, do you know that one? You have to
they couldn't arrest
Speaker
him.
of Parliament.
They said
the rules are there.
Exactly. So even this one, they can't just go and arrest him.
They have to inform.
So this one, when it comes to arrest,
they can't arrest him even now.
When I'm going to Parliament, they can't arrest me.
Yes.
You see, and in any case, if they need me before the court, they will write
to
the Speaker for Speaker to release me officially.
Even this one is the Speaker who is supposed to release him because he's a member of Parliament. So there is a contempt case. Out? No, you see, there is a contempt case, but why? He went out, not sneaked out.
So which of them made him to stay? All of them is out.
I'm saying that is the speaker.
He sneaked out.
Is the speaker who will have to release him for the court to really deal with him. But I am upbeat that after the minority has really been able to go through the ruling, will come out with a press conference to explain.
I'm of the view that if you've done nothing wrong, and there should be no reason for you to be worried. You know, he could have just shown up in court and this wouldn't get this far.
Honestly, but you see, that he also has some advice from his lawyers. He is also guided by lawyers and the minority. So definitely, let's see how it goes. This is just a running story. This is just this is how it started, and the minority is saying that we're looking at the ruling and will also come back stronger with a statement to tell the people of this country if it's really selective justice. Because when in Jechikwesin, there was an injunction, but he continued and it was not enforced.
Parliament didn't.
You know how we started, and I said that we like to be politically correct, and when one person is, feeling the heat, we all, feel the fire. But when it's your turn, we find reasons to defend and point accusing fingers at the other person. It's just the game we play in this country. Let's move on to other stuff.
Well, local authorities need adequate financial support. Majority Leader says the Majority Leader in Parliament at Mahama Yarga has called for the provision of adequate financial and technical support for Assembly and Unit Committee members to enhance governance and accelerate development at the grassroots level. According to him, unit committee leaders in particular play crucial roles in gathering data and disseminating information within their constituencies, making it imperative for them to be well-resourced. Mr. Ayarga made the call on the floor of Parliament in Accra yesterday during a discussion on strengthening of the country's local governance system. The Majority Leader stressed the need for better resourcing of Assembly and Unit Committee members. Well,
yes, in Accra or Kumasi, you may think that the unit committee is not very strong. But when you go to the villages, there is a community called Dagomba in the Sechura-Afram Plains district in Ashanti region, where I used to have my farm there. When you go there and there is an issue, because it's a cluster of communities that will have an assemblyman, the unit committee is very strong to the extent that they even pass judgment and so on.
Okay.
Yes. If they tell you that the unit committee chairman or member is inviting you, you will see people, they will be shivering. So I think that if you go to areas like that, these are areas that you don't get IGF. In Kumasi, Accra, and some few other municipal assemblies, they have a lot of internally generated funds. But when you go to constituencies or districts that are far away, and districts that do not have a lot of economic activities, like they are just farmers and some fishermen and so on. These are areas that, when you look at the formula, the District Assembly Common Fund formula, usually you see the Municipal Assembly getting more money than them because of the amount of money they generate and so on. So if you check the formula, you see that they don't get a lot of them, a lot of monies there. So I believe that we should be deliberate in doing these things. I see sister collaboration between the cities, but can't we do it with the rural areas? Because this sister brings a lot of development. You get maybe New York City coming to KMA, bring a lot of development, roads and so on. Can't we substitute to these local areas so that they'll be able to get something? The payment of assemblyman, the stipends and so on, I think we should revisit it again and see how best we'll be able to really resource the assembly members so that there are areas, because I remember, I don't know, I know in our manifesto, we mentioned that when we come, we'll give common fund to the assembly members. I think it's rational because you see, there are assembly members who will be really, who will not get a lot of the development because he had issues with the DCE. The DCE will deprive the area with development because the gentleman did not support him when he came in, or he antagonizes him at meetings and so on. But if there is a common fund for the area, the electoral area, the unit committee members will gather the data and look at this area, we need KVIP. Then he will also write to the assembly, just like the MPs write to the assembly, so that he will write to the assembly that we need KVIP around this area, come and construct it for us with our common fund. I think this is very necessary. So if they can tap into what we, Dr. Baumia promised in the manifesto, that the assembly members, the electoral area should be given some common fund, so that the unit committee members and the assembly members will get something to do development within their area.
So when he spoke about the popularity of the unit committee members, it reminded me of one senior of mine, Clement Mensah. He's a unit committee, I think, chairman or so for a place called Ejam. Ejam, Pompone, and another community. He says he was analyzing his popularity with the voting gods. That if you look at the vote,
and rightly so.
Yes, that's true.
Yeah.
If you look at the vote he polled, and he polled more than the assemblyman, it tells you how popular he is. And every case that comes, he is the one who is called upon to try and
because assemblyman will be somewhere.
So the thing is and this is a good call coming from the majority leader. Even only if government will work with it, we'll see. But he is a former MP. He's been in the House before. How do we operationalize this?
Yeah, we can operationalize it. One, as we talked this morning, the Assembly Common Fund has been capped. By the previous government. So even the full complement, they are not getting it.
But this government promised to uncap.
Yeah, we promised, but we are yet to present the budget. Not just the common fund that we are going to uncap, other
NHIA.
Yes, we uncap them to
fund.
YEA.
Yes, to enable the institutions have enough revenue to be able to take care of the challenges that confront them. Two, as we talked this morning, you would realize, like my brother said, most of these assemblies and municipal authorities do not have enough internally generated revenue. If you go to my municipal assembly, Bulsa North, what is actually there to let the people pay? It's just minimal. Someone is sending a guinea fowl to town, a woman is bringing dawa, then you take 2 seats. These are revenues that are even consumed by the overheads of the assemblies, especially the DC and his secretariat, in terms of fuel and other petty expenditure that they go through. Not just that, even with the common fund and other funds that are accruing to the assemblies are not timeously released. That is a major issue. Even though the money is inadequate, what is even there today, they do not get it when they need it most. By the time it will come, they would have accumulated debts. The debts will be such a way that they cannot even pay themselves out. So they continuously be in debt. So anytime it comes, the small revenue that comes, it swallows them up. Like if they ask a contractor to build a KVIP, a nursery, a small market, do patches here and there, they hold them in debt until they release the common fund. This is the source of funding. In bigger municipalities, like metropolitan municipalities and so on, like Tichima, they have a lot of revenue. Accra, Kumasi, where there are bigger markets and there are economic activities flying even through the 24-hour economy that we are talking about. They are able to mobilize enough funds, at least to meet what challenges. But like he said, the unit committee, they are the fulcrum around which our democracy and governance is formed.
Because they are with the people.
They are with the people. And when you get it right, you get everything right. Look, they do almost everything apart from changing a man to a woman. Yes. This cholera we are talking about, they advocate, they do advocacy.
They do a lot of work.
They do a lot of work. That was why in our manifesto we talked about giving a stipend to the assembly members and so on. We may have to, like he said, send it even to unit committee members because they do a lot.
If the entire electoral area gets it.
Yes, when someone is sick, they run to the assemblyman, the unit committee chairman. My child is dying, what can I do? I want me to send a fellow. The fellow would have to cough or something. Once this revenue are used judiciously, for the benefit of our people.
We have to go. I wish we had got a bite at this Cossack strike that starts today over the continued tenure of Samuel Adumboche, but 30 seconds, we should go. Okay. Well, thank you so much for joining us. And our guest this morning, yes, please. Timothy Awotrim is former member of Parliament for Bulsa North, and Awal Mohammed is former head of communications for Youth Employment Agency, and they join us to review the newspapers this morning. Stay with Kojo and I because we'll be back right after sports served to you by Haruna Mbarak. Please stay.
Let's do sports now on the AM show. My name is Haruna Mubarak. Now, Member of Parliament for Bolga Central, Akufo-Addo, has called on the Speaker of Parliament to direct the Sports Minister, Akufo-Addo, to ensure that the Ghana Football Association enforces strict protocols at match venues or risks suspending football. Adongo is among other members of the House who have united in condemning the violent scenes that led to the death of Kotoko supporter Francis Frimpong Poli. Razak Musbao has more in this report.
Delivering a statement on the floor of Parliament, MP for Brekum West, Dixon Dia, called for the enhancement of security at stadiums and strictly enforcing disciplinary actions.
I urge Ghana Football Association and the National Sports Authority to put in place stringent measures and security and safety measures to prevent such occurrences in future. These include enhanced security at stadiums, strict enforcement of disciplinary actions against violent conduct, and also intensified public education on sportsmanship. Mr. Speaker, in our beautiful game of football, there are only 3 results. Either you win, you lose, or you draw. A good sportsman will accept whatever result that comes their way. Honorable Speaker, at this grieving moment, permit me to extend my heartfelt and deepest condolences to the family of the deceased. No family should endure such a pain over a football match.
For his part, MP for Bolga Central, Akufo-Addo, delivered a scathing criticism of the Ghana Football Association and its management of football in the country.
Mr. Speaker, I was very sad to hear my colleague mention that they were struggling to get very simple first aid. You don't have ambulances. You have no business playing football in such a field. That is a death trap. But we go there and nothing happens, so we think that is a football field. No. What was the police situation at the football field? Where were the police? What was the requirement of security that was supposed to be upheld in the stadium? In this particular instance, the information we have is that this young man had been threatened prior to the match, and that the security agencies should have known that what happened to the young man could happen. I would like to call on you to direct the Ministry of Sports to take this matter very seriously.
Meanwhile, MP for Ikiapim North, Sami Ewuku, called for the restriction of alcoholic drinks and bars around the stadia.
Issue of citing drinking spots and beer bars around these stadia and sports facilities. One, you cannot enter the stadium with alcohol, but the people just take it before entering. So they enter, and by the time that they reach that peak, that is when the match is also at this height. So one, we also have to be clear on the modalities and the guidelines and what we can also have around the various sporting facilities. Today we have a colleague down that I'm an unrepentant fan of Kumasi Asante Kotoko. But I also believe that in helping protect lives within the various precincts of our sports facilities, we have to look at the very things that are cited around it. Yes, you can have food joints, but the siting of sometimes some of these drinking bars is also a disturbance.
The first Deputy Speaker of Parliament, who was presiding, has further directed that the statements be delivered to the Sports Minister for urgent action.
We are a few weeks away from Ghana's crucial World Cup qualifiers against Chad and Madagascar. Now, next month marks exactly a year since Andre Ayew last played for the Black Stars. His absence from the last 4 call-ups has caused a leadership crisis, leading to the failure to qualify for the 2025 AFCON. Now, with 25 days to the Chad fixture, the question is, should Ayew be recalled to the Black Stars? Well, my colleague Adamu Benin Abdul Karim explores this in this special report.
So I had a long talk with Andre, personal. I visited him and gave him the reasons why he's not in the squad. And Andre is, as everyone knows, a legend. He's a living legend of Ghana.
Black Stars head coach Akufo-Addo chose his words carefully when explaining Andre Ayew's omission from his squad for last year's World Cup qualifiers against Mali and the Central African Republic. At the time, many found it justifiable. Ayew was without a club and had endured controversial moments in the previous two major tournaments.
Still knocking on the door here, Gildo this time. Now, what's the referee say here? Is that a penalty? It's Katamo against the 40. Mozambique are back in this.
What I learned about listening, I think there was a question about from which coach I took some this and that. I would never say never as a coach, never. Because I don't know what will happen in next season. The door is always open.
But things changed. In October 2024, the 35-year-old joined Le Havre, netting 5 goals in 12 Ligue 1 starts, the best shot conversion rate of any Ghanaian forward in Europe's top 5 leagues. Still, it wasn't enough to earn him a recall for the final 2025 AFCON qualifiers against Angola and Niger. Without him, the Black Stars have won just 2 of their last 8 matches, leading to a leadership crisis where 3 different players have worn the armband.
He's created this leadership problem, isn't it? Next moment it is this, next moment it is who does it. Even his own organogram. He created his own organogram. He said that he was going to move away from the day. Once he made that bold decision, he said, Partey is my captain. In the absence of Partey, it will be what? Jiku will come what? Kudus. He created an organogram for himself and he messed it up. Thanks to Keto Kreku, who cannot be checked by even the head coach of the team, and he comes and talks to his players anyhow. So there's absolute crisis in our team when it comes to leadership.
It's supposed to be a captain's group, and this captain's group periodically meets to discuss, matters that are concerning the team in terms of goodness, in terms of challenges. They put their heads together to try to. They are the longest arm of the coach, So and if you have a team that does not have captain's group, then it's just like you have a country that has no leaders. It's just like you have a house that has no leadership, and a house cannot stand without leadership.
The absence of leadership is evident both on and off the pitch. Jordan Ayew, frustrated by the situation, even confided in Sudan coach Kwesi Appiah after Ghana's game against them in Accra. But should Andre Ayew's exclusion really disrupt the team structure?
Leadership group who try to mitigate and solve problems, around the team, who try to organize and put together, team structures and then team discipline and team culture so that the team can move smoothly.
Leadership doesn't start from the captainship. It starts from the head of the technical team. Our technical team has got no leaders. Akufo-Addo is not a leader. Keto Kreku himself, when it comes to football, he's not a leader. Okay? Maybe he's a leader for Dreams FC, but the platform given to him is completely failed.
Having captained the Black Stars for 5 years after a 12-year apprenticeship under Stephen Appiah, John Mensah, and Asamoah Gyan, Ayew understands leadership. Will this crisis have been avoided if he were still in the squad?
The opportunity of being with very experienced and older colleagues. And so when a player gets the opportunity of playing alongside older ones of this kind, it gives him a proper way of understanding the game and also understanding the culture of the institution. When I talk about the culture of the institution, I'm talking about the culture around the Black Stars and the culture around our own country. And so you cannot underestimate the inputs of that type of a player.
The Andre's captainship has not gone without issues. I am aware of the indiscipline that went through the Black Stars camp when we went to Cote d'Ivoire. And to be honest with you, if your players can revolt against the coach of the team and players trying to interfere with coach's selection, it comes from the leader of the team. Under Stephen Appiah, you dare not.
In his absence, Ayu's supposed replacements have managed just 3 goals in 8 games. With the March World Cup qualifiers against Chad and Madagascar looming, does Ghana need a 35-year-old back in the fold?
But you know, players come and go. Just as we were speaking about Stephen Appiah, and then he had the chance of being with Stephen Appiah, Michael Essien, Asamoah Gyan, and co. That tells you that definitely there's a moment of player transition in different phases, and I think that he's gained a lot of experience and maturity around this.
My principle concerning Andre is simple. It is better he's not given the call back into the national team. If you do the mathematics, if you're asking to bring back Andre, you are asking the man to come back after 18 good years. I stand to be corrected. You need to be a Leo Messi. You need to be an untouchable, a player who, even at the age of Leo Messi, the world champions of Argentina cannot do without.
The Black Stars may no longer require Ayu's footballing abilities to turn their fortunes around, but the leadership vacuum in the team is a direct consequence of the coach's decisions.
Now, Africa's most decorated Olympian, Kirsty Coventry, is among the front-runners to replace outgoing President Thomas Bach at the 144th International Olympic Committee General Assembly this March. If given the opportunity, she aims to provide more funding to federations, national associations, and athletes who need it most to boost their medal ambitions.
Was hugely instrumental in just taking a bit of pressure off my family, giving me a little bit of income where I could travel to meets that I needed to go and compete in during the summertime when we weren't in class or in technical, in school. It allowed me to pay for my coach to travel with me when we went to world championships and things like that. And that's a huge advantage. And so some of the programs I'd like to focus on when I step into the presidential role is focusing more on that. A few people are talking about prize money at the Olympic Games. I don't really believe in prize money because it's a once-off and it only really impacts, again, those that have already made it. I want to see how we can create programs and strengthen programs that are going to help Olympians become Olympians and become Olympic champions. It was easier for me to get sponsorship once I'd won medals, but to get to winning the medals was a really tough journey. How do we make those journeys less tough?
So welcome back to the AM show. Let's talk about our big stories today. And Akufo-Addo High Court has issued a bench warrant for the arrest of Ernest Yakumi, the presumed winner of the Akwatia parliamentary seat or elections in the 2024, in the 2024 election. Now, after convicting him of contempt of court, but minority describes court ruling as unfair and unsatisfactory. Plus, President Nana Akufo-Addo has been telling his former appointees, quote, no running away from accountability, unquote. We know the recent happening between the OSP and the former finance minister, and the information out there that several of his appointees have left their jurisdiction. This is where the former president is saying, do not run away from accountability, come and answer to all the questions. And so these issues plus more to digest this morning with our panel, and we'll be joined in studio, by Dr. Kabiru Mahama. He is the MP for Wale Wale. He used to be an aide in the former vice president's office. Kabiru, good morning. Trust all is well?
All is well. It's been a while.
Yeah. I'm around.
I have a question on the lighter note. Is it just a few days in office and you already have grey hair, or were they there all along?
I'm sure the pace of graying has now hastened because they were not that visible.
Yeah.
I'm surprised you can even see them visible online.
Is that a lot of thinking?
A lot of pressure. Yeah, I'm not naturally a gray-headed person.
Okay.
Unlike my brother.
Yeah.
But to see them, in terms of when I stand before the mirror to see them, I get scared.
Wow.
Don't be scared. You're fine.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. We also have in studio Wanda Madilo. He is a development analyst and a member of the NDC's National Communications team. Hi, Wanda.
Yeah. Very good morning to all your viewers, cherished viewers for that matter. Another privilege to speak to the nation on your platform.
Okay.
And we are indeed grateful.
All right. Now,
in fact, before we even go into our main conversation, I would like to find out from Doc, how is Wale Wale? I mean, we know that curfew is still ongoing. Have you had a chance to even go to the constituency?
Yeah, so I just want to say good morning to you again and my colleague Wanda Mandilo and to the good people of Wale Wale. The whole incidence of a curfew happened whilst I was away. I joined the vice president for his lecture at Harvard Business School. So we're there when news of the curfew got to us. I returned just a day ago.
Okay.
My preoccupation was to get Parliament's attention. As a member of Parliament, I need to formally make this known to the Speaker that this is the affliction that has befallen my constituency. Thereafter, we would move to the Wale Wale constituency. I would have been leaving this evening, but because there's a planned joint visit by other friends of the constituency, we are deferring that to do that sometime on Monday, whilst all other parties interested in visiting and then commiserating with the affected people, especially the people of Wale Wale, would be ready. So basically, I've not gone there, but I'm in touch.
Yeah.
I've been speaking to relevant stakeholders involved. When it happened, I tried to seize myself with the facts, and you can recall even on this platform, incidents leading up to that, the climax of it is the curfew, but the incidents leading up to the curfew, we've discussed some of them on this platform.
Doc, you have to speak up for us. We can hear you.
So incidents that were, prelude to the event of the imposition of the curfew have been discussed on this platform. And it's rather unfortunate that Wale Wale will have to face that. I must note that this is the first time we are having such an issue. Second, this is the first time a community a couple of communities have been imposed, a curfew has been imposed on them without internal conflict between parties. Because unlike all conflicts in Yendi, where there were curfew in Yendi, there were feuding factions within Yendi. In Boku, where there's curfew now, there are feuding factions in Boku. But in the case of Wale Wale, there is no internal conflict between parties where you think that without the imposition of a curfew, it will be so difficult to contain the people. Admittedly, there are criminal activities on the road where people stop vehicles and attack these vehicles. I have had occasion to condemn that on this very platform, even though when you try to condemn the military, people say you are not condemning the acts of the people. So this is what had happened. We'll be delving into that much more extensively, but Wale Wale is calm. The people are cooperating with the security agencies, despite the fact that there have been several reports of the military going into people's homes and then extorting money from them. There are reports of people going into people's compounds, asking them to go into their rooms and sleep. You are supposed to ensure that people are not out. You don't determine the time they are supposed to sleep. All these are reports that are coming up. And then I'm sure in the coming days, when we go and seize and appraise ourselves with the full extent of the matter, we'll be coming back to update the good people of Ghana.
Right. So let's get straight into our conversation, and I want to start from Akwitia. Mr. Kumi, because there's a bench warrant on him for his arrest. And we saw him leaving Parliament. Some people say sneaking out of Parliament. Whether he left or sneaked out is a question we can all answer. But what did you make of it? This is a man who had an interim injunction on him on the outcome of the election for that area, Akutia. He didn't show up in court. He was not supposed to be sworn in, but he went to Parliament. He was sworn in. He's participated in parliamentary proceedings for a month or so now. And now they're calling for his arrest. Minority Leader Alexander Penyumarkin is saying that the way we are treating this man is unfair. And that he, in fact, wrote to the judge saying that he's been busy with parliamentary duties, which is why he failed to show up in court when the case was being heard. Doc, I'll come to you in a second. Let me start from Mr. Wanda Madilo. What did you make of it? Have you been following how this whole case is unraveling?
First and foremost, before I answer that, I want to talk to Kabiru, Honorable. No, I think that your conflict, first and foremost, it explains why you have the grade. Now that we know the problems go beyond the internal party wranglings before your assumption of office. But we need to be calm about this matter. You see, conflict knows no political party colors. And what is happening in Waliwale is something that nobody wished for or wants. I mean, what's the business of government imposing curfew? When at the end of the day, that curfew affects governments the more because productivity then is zero at night in those areas. And we all know that Waliwale is a very huge farming or agricultural-based community. And some of the things they do, like adding value to their produce, is done overnight. So indeed, no government would want to happily, impose curfew in Waliwale if it is not for security concerns. You will recall that the regional minister actually went there, and her car was mangled, if you ask me, or she was met with a lot of violence, and I don't think that is even something we should celebrate. We should be condemning that act, because it could be me, it could be he himself, it could be today is the minister. And so I really think that this Waliwale thing we can, tone down a little. We all know that those who are involved in criminal activities... What does tone down mean? Exactly what do you mean? No, I mean, the utterances that we hear every now and then,
Is it about the military brutality?
Yes, about those reports about military brutality.
But if it's happening, should they not be talking about it?
So, unconfirmed, he himself said.
We spoke to the leader of the Mamprugu Youth Association, and he said that these military personnel enter the town and just start beating up people. We had that interview.
We'll discuss that a bit more. That's why I don't want to go there. The brutality has led to the loss of 2 lives. So it's not unconfirmed. So let us know. That's what I'm saying. When we get to the details, we'll talk about that. But I'm saying that I agree with you that we have to be moderate in our utterances because of the dicey nature of the issue. But I'm saying that we don't also do politics to say that, it's unconfirmed. It is confirmed that 2 people died in the hands of the military. It's a confirmed fact.
So again,
those things, unless of course we want us to brush the discussion of this one first.
We are not. I just feel that we should be circumspect. It's a security matter. First of all, Waliwale is a major town you have to go through from northern region through to northeast through to upper east. And it's a major road. It's actually a border road. If you say border, it's a main road exiting this country. And you get to Boga, you go to the left, you are going through Navrongo, you go to the right, and then you are going to Boku and all the other areas. And it's just one road out of that place. So we need to understand the dynamics under which the military will want to do this, or the government, the interior ministry will want to impose a curfew. That's what I'm saying.
But I've also questioned why the curfew when actually the activities, seizure of vehicles and what have you, happens during the day.
Yeah.
Why the curfew?
It was not only about the cars, the attacks on the cars. There are also reports of arms movement.
In Waliwale.
The whole conflict environment. That conflict is a spillover from Boku. He knows that very well. So we need to. That's what I'm saying.
But a little bit of experiencing any conflict.
Yeah, but that's where the attacks are happening. And how are they attacking people?
On the
with
road.
their hands? With their hands?
But then that it comes back to the question.
But curfew is normally imposed in the evenings.
Yes.
When there are, plans going on, people are meeting overnight on how to, give reprisal attacks and all that. So it is to quell some of these, undercurrents. And I don't think that any government is excited to impose curfew on the community whose livelihoods in the evening is zilch. Okay. And that also affects productivity. I don't think that is the focus. Let's go back to Kumi.
Yes, please.
So on Kumi's issue, I think he has demonstrated the highest height of disregard for our judiciary. And it's unfortunate that it has gotten to this, because if you recall on the night of the swearing in, that midnight thing, he was asked several times, are you ready to bear the consequence? The same minority leader stated clearly that, yeah, he was ready. They asked him himself, he said he was ready. In the full glare of the cameras, in the full glare of the nation, in the full glare of the whole world watching Ghana at that point. And we felt that, I felt that was a height of disregard. To know that I will step on a dagger and it will hurt me, and I'll say, oh, don't worry, put the dagger there, let me step on it and let it hurt me. You can only pay the price for yourself. Today we hear stories about the minority having to write to the judge, and when did that start? The minority is writing to the judge to say what? What is the role of the minority in the matter? This is a case between the one party on the other side and the other party, which is Kumi, and not the MPP as a party.
To the minority,
yeah,
as a party.
But it is him that is that is in court. If you read the case,
yes,
it is
but
him
once he'd been sworn
court.
in, automatically he's part of the minority, and the minority as a caucus, they're speaking on his behalf.
And I'm saying that the MPP is not in court. They are not an interested party in the case. It is Kumi who is the party in the case. So for a strange person to write to the judge, he holds no water. At best, you may be appealing to the judge's emotions or goodwill or whatever of the sort, but you're not the party to the case. In any case, we knew of the injunction. He knew of the injunction. And then he went ahead to be sworn in. After you were even sworn in, you did not even take your time to even go to the court. And the court is right within your constituency or close by your constituency in Akufo-Addo, right? And you go over the weekend, possibly, to your constituency. You never even took your time to say, let me go and see the judge. Exactly what are the bases? Engage your lawyers and go on and go on. Then the case went back to court. The judge has actually charged you for contempt. You still didn't show up to even talk about the matter. You wait until now there's a proper warrant of your arrest, and then we are hearing all of this. I think that sometimes it is not about political party. You need to respect the laws of the land. And you are a member of the legislature, the very organ that establishes some of these statutes, laws, and all that governs us today. So, Ernest Kumi's case is a sad case for our judiciary, but I also indeed feel that there's nobody above the law. If the law has to be enforced, let it be enforced to the latter. Let's see the full extent of it. I won't be excited to see my fellow brother in jail or anything of the sort, but I think that we need to get to a point where it is about the national view and not about our personal or political leanings for that matter. You saw how Jechikwesi was in and out of court over these issues. There were times that even in the chamber they wanted to serve him and all that. But at least he respected the court by going to court. And then the judgment came, we went over and over and over. I think that people should give the right signals, because he's not just an ordinary Ghanaian walking about. This is somebody who is a representative of a whole constituency. And the image you put out there should not be a disregard for a certain arm of government just because you are a member of parliament. I think that we need to find a way to resolve some of these issues.
I don't know how subpoenas work, but couldn't he have been subpoenaed rather than a bench warrant being issued for his arrest?
No, you've gone beyond subpoenas. This one is a contempt.
I mean, when the whole issue, the contempt hearing was ongoing, and he was not coming.
It's actually not the role of the judge to subpoena you over an issue you have already been found guilty for.
No, I mean, you are hearing the case for contempt, right?
Yes.
And your argument is that he wasn't coming to court.
Yes.
Wasn't there any means that he could have been subpoenaed?
I don't think that, I'm not very abreast with the law on that matter, but I don't think that there was a case to be subpoenaed.
Okay.
No. I mean, when you are in contempt of court, that is already a determined case that you are in contempt. In fact, the action, if he didn't go to be sworn in and all that, then you didn't disregard the court, because the judge in his ruling said that there is absolute disregard for the court and by his actions. And what are the actions? You did, there was an injunction application against you. You knew of it. You were served. You were asked whether you should be sworn in or not. You confirmed that, yes, swear me in, and I don't care what the consequences. I'm ready to bear the branch. That's one leg. Number two, it goes beyond that. Now the court says that you are in contempt because we gave an order which you didn't comply. Again, you didn't show up in court. You didn't want to even listen to the court again. So the position of Kumi just demonstrates an absolute disregard for the laws of our land. And that's where the crisis comes in.
He was playing the role of a representative of his people in the House.
Yeah.
And he didn't, because of that, he didn't get the chance or the time to come for the contempt hearing.
So my brother, that's exactly what is being questioned. Your representation is the one that is being questioned. So you can't even call yourself a representative of the people, because that has been challenged in a competent court of law. And the court has taken a position. He's been sworn in against the position of the court. So that itself is what he's being called for as being in contempt. You see why in this case the judge wouldn't have taken into account the clerk or the who did the swearing at the time? It was a clerk, right?
Yes, yes. The clerk.
Why they didn't pull the clerk into this case? Because the clerk was aware and gave clear instructions. We have received, we have been served. Are you still going to go ahead? He said yes, was going. So by that action, the clerk has actually recused herself from the consequence of being in contempt. Okay. So the very representation you are talking about is what was challenged in the first place. So to the court, you are not a representative of the House, of that constituency. That's for me basically, what it is.
Okay, let's listen to Dr. Kabiru now. What is the minority's position on this matter, really? He's a member of your...
That's his colleague anyway.
Yes, he's he's a member of the minority.
So the minority is disturbed. The minority is concerned. The minority is perturbed by the turn of events. The minority is not happy with how this matter has been handled. And if you can just rewind back, Mr. Ernest Kumi, the duly elected member of parliament for Akwatia, came to the House of Parliament midnight, 6th January, to be sworn in. The clerk to Parliament drew the attention of the House to the fact that an injunction has been placed on that candidate or his election. The outcome has been challenged, and that he had been duly served. The minority took the view that Parliament procedures are exclusively within the jurisdiction of Parliament, and that there have been precedents that a member has been served with injunction, yet the member has been sworn in Parliament.
Yes.
In the case of Asinov, Member of Parliament elect then, Mr. James Jackie Kwesen. This was the argument the minority leader advanced on the floor of Parliament, and stated clearly that on the basis of that precedent, it was only fair and good, and being fair to the people of Akwatia that Mr. Ernest Kumi should be sworn in by the clerk. That was our argument advanced. He again stated that the minority then, now the majority, advanced the argument that Mr. Kwesen, Jackie Kwesen, is aware of the legal implication of the act he was going to do or he was engaged in. So is Mr. Ernest Kumi. And that they were all acutely aware of the implication of that decision to get themselves sworn in despite notice of injunctions against them. That was the argument of the minority leader.
Was an injunction brought against Jackie Kwesen?
There was an injunction against Jackie Kwesen. As a matter of fact, in the preceding of that night, 2021 January, it was made clear, and the argument was that let Jackie Kwesen bear his own course. Similar argument was advanced by Mr. Afenyo Osahi of Afenyo Markins. What is the difference? It's clearly based on precedence. Now, the judge disagreed that Mr. Ernest Kumi has been validly elected. No, not that he disagrees. He takes an application against him, an injunction against him. He says that by the fact that Mr. Ernest Kumi has defied and proceeding ahead to be sworn in as a member of parliament for Akwatia, he has acted in contempt of court.
Is he wrong?
He's wrong because the judge is not the law in himself. There are superior authorities over him. A high court judge is subservient to the laws of the country, just like the court exists and is answerable to another court. In other words, there are other courts with jurisdiction over that court.
Great.
Okay, so it is not that the gentleman acted in complete disregard for the ruling. There were processes filed at the High Court, the Supreme Court, which in his interpretation operates as a stay of whatever is going on in the High Court.
So what you're telling us today is that there was a process started at the Supreme Court.
Clearly.
No. Is it a fact?
That's what I'm saying. I have even the minority, together with the lawyers for Mr. Kumi, has appealed even this decision as a file for scale of execution. And we have advanced our files. And once court documents are filed, they become public records and they can be cited. I have the complete dossier here. And I can share them with you. I can read copiously of the processes. Okay.
So there are two things you're saying here, Kabiru.
Yeah.
One, you're saying that you filed processes against that ruling, right? The issuance of the bench warrant.
Exactly.
My question to you earlier was on your earlier statement that the party, he had filed processes at the Supreme Court, staying the process at the court today. That's what I was asking, whether it's a fact that had been done prior to this judgment.
One of our grounds for the appeal, we are asking that the learned High Court judge erred when he proceeded to hear and rule on the application for committal of contempt, despite being served with a pending application of certiorari and prohibition filed at the Supreme Court.
Okay.
I am saying that the gentleman is not acting out of ignorance.
Okay.
The gentleman is not taking the law into his own hands. The law is a process. It's not an event that a judge could just decide to say that I disregard whatever is happening at the Supreme Court. Even before the judge himself, there was a notice on there was a motion on notice asking him to stay the proceedings.
Doc,
and he disregarded it.
You know, this Akwatia constituency is one of those who they couldn't conclude on, and so they had to be relocated to the police training school, right? And if this process, if something like this was happening, what would it have taken for him to appear before the court and say, we filed another application or we filed something in the Supreme Court? Rather, you refuse to show up to court and you go in and you're sworn in and you were able to say that the judge was wrong outrightly.
Yes.
In saying or rejecting a letter and all the other things that he did. But where do you think Mr. Kumi faltered? Rightly so, you're saying that there's been a process already in the Supreme Court. But the High Court, within its mandate, asked you to appear before us so that whatever it is, we can bring some finality to the matter. You don't show up. You don't say anything.
I have been a victim of similar processes.
Okay.
Applications, injunctions have been placed on my elections. I've gone through these motions before. Okay? And I know how some of these judges act and behave. But the law is the law. Once you have a process served and it is in your docket, you don't need another judge or another lawyer or someone, client, to come and tell you. If you act in disregard to that particular process filed before you, then the lawyers will have a recourse to say that you are ruling, you had erred because a document, just like the MPP has done. So now let's let the motion go, and then we'll then determine whether the judge was right or the lawyers for Mr. Ernest Kumi were those who were right. We cannot sit down here to appropriate who has legal gravitas in this matter or whose the law is favoring. But what I do know is that the judge was served with processes. these processes were supposed to stay whatever was going on in terms of the, notice or application committal for contempt. This was the understanding of the lawyers and Mr. Kumi, who had engaged them. The judge went ahead and disregarded that rule. Let's see whether that ruling will stand. Because processes, we have appealed, we have also, for stay of execution, and we have also appealed the ruling.
Okay.
So these two processes, in effect.
What date was this application filed?
19th February.
That's yesterday.
Yesterday.
The ruling was yesterday.
The ruling was yesterday. So I'm saying that these are the appeal we are talking about. So there's no problem. If the ruling was yesterday,
Kabir, let's put.
My understand. No, just help me. I think I'm a bit confused. Are you saying that Mr. Kumi didn't show up to the High Court, the courts in Akwetia, because he thought that application was subservient to what application you had filed at the Supreme Court? Is that why he refused to show up?
I'm saying that in the first place, Mr. Kumi had filed an application to quash the decision of the High Court of the High Court Akufo-Addo at the Supreme Court.
Akufo-Addo, yeah.
Right.
And what date was this?
Not that yesterday. How can you file the process
so tell
yesterday?
us, when was this filed?
That's what I'm saying. You can't file the process yesterday.
You mentioned
it was filed on 8th January. Yesterday.
But it was filed on 8th January. It means he had already been sworn in.
Don't put words into my mouth.
You mentioned 19.
Don't put words in. I'm saying that the appeal of the ruling yesterday and the stay of execution of the ruling yesterday was done yesterday. Okay. That's the point I'm making. I'm saying that, but before that, the judge is not the law by himself. In fact, there are other superior authorities over him. Some have supervisory jurisdiction over him. And I'm saying that there was a process also filed at the Supreme Court earlier on. So Mr. Kumi is not acting on the 8th of January. So Mr. Kumi is not acting as if he disregarded whatever was happening, and then he decided not to show up in any court. He filed a process at the Supreme Court on the 8th of January. So the man was acting within the law. If the Akufo-Addo High Court judge feels that, look, I'm disregarding whatever it is, he may have some legal backing for that, but that is where we need to go back to the court and test that. That is my whole argument.
All right. So why was he seen... if you've done nothing wrong, I like to say that then you have no cause to worry. Why did we see him leaving Parliament hours after this bench?
Once a judge rules on a matter, it becomes the decision until it is vacated. Right? A law-abiding citizen with a contempt proceeding, with a ruling. I was part of the people who engaged Mr. Kumi before he left the chamber. As a matter of fact, myself, the deputy minority leader, and then one other person, I can't quickly, 3 of us, had tete-a-tete with Mr. Kumi before. And if you look at the visuals you guys took, when he was going out, I was the one following next to him. Okay, so it is not that we didn't engage, but we said, look, the news is that we have there, even if Mr. Kumi had gotten, it was through the social media and then the new media, he got wind of the ruling. He had not been served. But once it is out there, one of the things that the media attention is going to be on you.
Yeah.
That's the first thing. The proceeding, in fact, your cameras is going to be on Mr. Ernest Kumi. So it is advisable you leave Parliament once we initiate processes to restore your rights as an elected member of Parliament for Akwetia. That's what basically happened. It's not that he was run away from Parliament because he thought he had done something wrong, but he was only abiding by the laws of the country and respecting the ruling of the High Court judge.
Okay. Quite interesting. How do we get to resolve it? Because he says they filed a case at the Supreme Court. How do we resolve this? Yeah.
You know, is this not surprising to you?
Yeah, I didn't hear about it till today. Yeah. That
the MPP is now claiming that on the 7th, after Ernest Kumi was supposedly sworn in, they went to court on the 8th. Now, what were they going to court for on the 8th?
I can answer it. The court, we went to the Supreme Court
on the 8th,
seeking to quash the proceeding before the court, that's the High Court. and to prohibit from hearing the matter. So you are challenging, challenging the locus, the capacity, the jurisdiction of the judge.
The CI, you see, this is where the problem is. The CI that we went into the election with is clear on which court hears election cases. I mean, at parliamentary level. Yeah. It is the High Court. So I don't know. I have not read their pleadings in court, but whatever they were challenging, we can't tell at the moment. And we're not even privy to it. That's the first thing. And then he was sworn in on the 7th. Then the 8th, they claim they are in court challenging the what? You say what? The validity of the judge or what? The High Court sitting on the matter or what? What are you challenging? Then for all this while, nobody heard about it, nothing. And then yesterday, and he never showed up in court anyway, because if he showed up in court, even if you file a process challenging the eligibility of the judge hearing the matter, you still have to go back to court with your lawyers.
He said they had filed the processes on the judge too. The judge was on notice of what was happening in the Supreme Court. That's why he didn't go.
So you mean the judge is that reckless to know?
Well, according to the argument,
to know that somebody is challenging my jurisdiction on a matter, and then I come to sit on the same matter. Several sittings, you never showed up. Then yesterday, just when the contempt is, it was not even yesterday the contempt was determined. The contempt was determined earlier. Then yesterday, a warrant of arrest was issued. Then quickly you have gone to court again. No problem. The laws are there for us. And we will see the full, state of this matter. I think that for now we can rest the case while we wait for the full extent of the trial to move on. And then we will get to know better what it is. But you can share those documents with us. It looks like it's only MVP communicators.
It's a public document. That's what I'm saying. That once the document is
filed, right. You can ask for it.
You can share it to me.
You can go for it.
We are all getting it for the first time.
So that's what I'm saying. A matter of this nature, I agree with you that if we are not seized with the full facts, we may accuse someone or even prosecute someone here without him being guilty. So and I'll send it to you. I'll give it to you. And I'm just happy that this different dynamics and twists of the matter is coming, and that the Ghanaian people didn't even know. He didn't even know that there was a process filed at the Supreme Court. So his views, his perception, his utterances toward the matter will be different if he was aware that there are processes filed at the Supreme Court, right? So we'll bring all this together. We will analyze everything, and then we'll come to a determination whether Mr. Kumi acted unlawfully or he acted within his rights.
Well, Kabir,
but do you see how someone can say that this bullet had his name etched on it, just like the Kenoforiata case? It's a matter of communication. If he had made all this information available to the judge and said that, well, we have an application or we filed something or these are the processes.
The judge is aware of all these facts.
The
judge is, that's what we are, that's the ground for the appeal of the decision.
No,
we are saying that you are aware. That's what we are telling that you are aware that processes, ABC processes were filed.
Honorable, I need clarification. So at a certain point, we were told that the minority leader wrote to the judge. At what point did he write?
It's not true. That's what I'm saying. That's why I didn't. Okay, let me have a copy of the letter.
Yeah, he wrote to the judge. At what point did he write? And what was the content of that?
The minority leader is not even the point. Even there's any issue about a member of parliament and then the court, and it's like a member is wanted to present himself for court proceeding. The speaker.
Yes, that we know.
The speaker. That's what I'm saying. I want to see the letter that it was purportedly uttered by the minority leader. Then I can speak to that. It's a speaker who will tell them my member of parliament is not available to assist because he's attending to parliamentary business. That is normal, and that has even in the case of Mr. Quayson.
No, you keep linking Quayson to this.
The speaker came in. So I'm saying that I have not seen the letter. I have not cited the letter. It was an oversight on the part, but I have not seen any letter purported, written by Mr. Alex Afenyo Makin to the judge.
Actually, I'm seeing the story. I'm trying to get the story is on myjoyonline.com. Even the judge saying that he rejected the letter, insisting that he would be going against his own ruling should he accept the letter from the minority court. But I do want to get your
so let me get the letter.
But we can move on.
There could be some communication, the fact that our member, there could be. I'm saying our member, like I said, the speaker could equally. If the speaker is not doing it, the leader can speak on behalf of a member. My member is attending to parliamentary business.
No, but that power is rested in the hands of the.
I'm saying that
the speaker.
The speaker does
to be a blatant illegality.
I have informed, I have brought to the fore that it is the speaker's rule. In order to communicate to. I'm saying that, but if for whatever reason a speaker is not doing it, which I'm not suggesting that that is what happened. I'm not by any means suggesting that. Minority leader with leadership over Mr. Ernest Kumi could equally communicate certain matters of facts.
There's no law.
There's nothing that bars the minority leader from.
But would that be equal to parliamentary immunity? Because that can only be triggered by the speaker, not the leader.
He doesn't have any locus to do that.
I'm saying that we don't know under what law or order of the standing orders of parliament the minority leader can, because I've not seen the letter.
Okay. All right.
None of us have seen the letter. We're only reading media reports. But I'm saying that, be that as it may, okay, there is nothing in law that says that the minority leader with facts best known to him is prohibited or is inhibited from communicating.
I think once this issue is in the court, let's see how it travels. But let's move away and talk about other issues. Let's look at the call or the caution of the former president, Akufo-Addo, to his appointees that they shouldn't run away from accountability. Of course, Kabiru, you were an appointee of the government as well.
Yeah, I am.
Your big Oga says that you don't have to run away from accountability. But why is it that we've seen a lot of you sort of leave the jurisdiction after the election, and many people say that, well, you're running away?
Yeah, first and foremost, the fact that someone has decided to travel outside of the country for different and varied and diverse reasons, it will be dishonest to then interpret that to mean that someone is running from accountability or facing, if you like, strict scrutiny of the law. That is the first thing. Again, except some few individuals, most government appointees have not, the government has not brought any issue regarding most of his appointees. Mr. Ken Oforiatta had an invitation from the special prosecutor. He replied to the special prosecutor that I am in the United States seeking medical attention and I'll avail myself when I come back to Ghana. The special prosecutor lacks patience. Contrary to the law, declared him a wanted man. There are stories about Mr. MPA boss, which turned out not to be true. Dr.
Mustafa Hamid.
Okay. Who are the people? Nana Akufo-Addo had several appointees. In fact, hundreds, if you like. And you are only dealing with one person and people, or two persons. And people would then generalize that to mean that appointees are run away from accountability. I'm sure the call by the former president is very well placed. Very well placed because he had shared the mandate the Ghanaian people had given him with some individuals, including myself. He shared that mandate with ministers of state. He shared that mandate with CEOs. And that some of the questions would have to be answered by them if the state is so minded to ask certain questions about how they manage the affairs of a ministry, of an agency, of a corporation. So any one call would have a must avail himself, answer to the questions. And if the person has fallen short of the glory of God, the person has been found to have engaged in some malfeasance, financial impropriety, has engaged in the loot of the state, the person has also probably created something and then share with other people, as was done in the previous administration, and which has found expression in our jurisprudence as create, loot, and share.
And you can't arrest anybody for that?
If that, it's not true that people could not be arrested for anything. People are standing, even some of the people were standing trial. We see that less than 24 hours, 48 hours after the Attorney General had been sworn in, he discontinued cases, promoted some of them, gave some of them appointments. We are seeing it. Such a government in the first place, ab initio, will not have the moral gravitas, will not have the moral right to even hold people accountable for corruption. That's my sincere opinion, that a government that comes in less than 48 hours, the Attorney General, less than 48 hours, and started discontinuing criminal cases. So far, several people, and not less than 9 people, criminal proceedings against them.
Are you dissatisfied with
the
reasons cited? Do they not sit well with you? The reasons he gave, that in good conscience, some of them there's no evidence, others he was a counsel, to...
You see, you cannot be, even that is the conflict.
He goes on and
that
on.
Is even the conflict. If you were a counsel, if you were Attorney General, you were a counsel to if you like, an accused person, you should be the last person even making judgment on it.
No, but
in his capacity now as Attorney General.
That's what I said. It is clearly a conflict, though the law clothed him with the authority to file a nolle prosequi, to withdraw cases, that you can't take away from the Attorney General. That is what the law mandates him from. But I'm saying that in good conscience that he's saying, the good conscience should have alerted him that, look, this case, I was the person involved. Right?
I was
the lawyer.
That he's privy to all the information.
I'm saying that, yes, I know he's privy. I know he's privy. And that particular fact of being predisposed to the facts put you in a conflict situation. Like suppose I'm serving as a lawyer to you, I'm appointed as the Attorney General, you have a case. I cannot be the best person to make judgment on that case.
But you are also in a position to ascertain for yourself all the pieces of evidence there and then make a judgment whether or not, in good conscience, you should continue trying the case.
That case.
Yes or no?
You will not be, because you are in a conflict situation. And that's why the law asks us, whenever we are in a conflict situation, the rational and conscionable thing to do is to recuse yourself. And probably say that, look, this is a criminal matter. I am so much involved. I'm the attorney. Let me refer you to the Office of the Special Prosecutor. Let them come with their independent fund, because that somehow operates independent of me. This is about administrative misprice. Let me refer you to Shraj. So when they clear the person, it will not be like you are sitting down and clearing people and promoting them. Look, some of them, they are just being cleared and promoted and given juicy appointments. This is what we are seeing. And I'm happy with the call by the former president. We will present ourselves, but I'm saying that coming to face the Attorney General in the court to answer charges, I'll have that moral dilemma of why is this person trying to prosecute me when there were cases he did not even afford the Ghanaian people a full fact before even discontinuing. He discontinued, and when the public uproar came against the decision, questioning the legal basis for them, he then came to provide explanation.
Let's pause there. So he's saying that the Attorney General's explanation was even reactive. It wasn't, it came because Ghanaians were pouring in and saying that, calling them a clearing agent and all that. What did you...
I am at a loss to find a reason in Kabiru's presentation on the matter of nolle prosequi and the matter of people running away from this country and all that. Now, if you want to talk about nolle prosequi, first and foremost, I have only one example for him, if he wants to know. We have been in this country on the 17th of March, 2017. 3 months after this government came into power, their Delta forces had misbehaved in the compound of the National Security Advisor or Coordinator in Ashanti region. These guys were arraigned before court. In open court, the judge had to run for her life. The judge had to run for... They went to the court premises with all the gamut of military men and police there to free their people. That's how reckless they were. When this case finally got to court, did this same Attorney General, Akufo-Addo, then I think he was deputy, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes, she was deputy. He was deputy.
Did the boss not file an only prosecutor in this country? Did they give any reason for which they did what they did at the time? When did they find the moral high ground today to be questioning why a case is withdrawn from court? First and foremost, there's no constitutional, requirement that when you take a case out of court or you withdraw out of court, you should give reasons.
Yeah, good question.
It is out of good governance, good reason that the Attorney General decided. In any case, they are not the ones who called the Attorney General to say this. Felix Fosu, right after the event, had granted a press conference and he said, in due course, the Attorney General will give reasons.
Yeah.
So at what point did the MPP even know that there were going to be nolly prosecutor, in some of these cases or withdrawal of charges and all that?
But Madela, do you get why Ghanaians were pouring out? Because this government came into power on the back of accountability.
I'm going there.
Okay.
Accountability is not...
Transparency. I was getting to that
transparency.
Point so you don't do something like that, and then when we are asking you questions before you come and give us the answers to it, I think that's a concern of most people.
No. First and foremost, the office of the Attorney General's Department is a creation of law, and that law says that when I withdraw a charge, I am under no compulsion to explain to anybody why I'm withdrawing a charge of an accused. That's one. So you talk about transparency. He then went further to say that, well, I have withdrawn the cases, and these are the reasons. These are the cases I've withdrawn, and these are the reasons. For some of them, he actually stated that the Attorney General, Akufo-Addo, at the time was written to by investigators, by the prosecution team, that these cases were frivolous. We're going nowhere with it. Withdraw it. Almost all of these cases have been in court for 7 years on the bounce. That I'm accused certainly makes me corrupt. That I'm accused certainly makes me a convict. That I'm accused certainly makes me a jailbreaker. That I'm accused certainly makes me a criminal.
Huge sums of money, like the Saglami housing project, for example.
I am getting there.
Okay.
I am getting there. And then you talk about, first of all, crime is crime. Let's not describe someone as bigger than others. Once you are before a competent court of jurisdiction, crime is crime.
Crimes are bigger than crime. That's what punishment.
I'm saying crime is crime. I'm not talking about punishment.
Yeah.
No,
I said
but they
crime
differ.
is crime.
Yeah,
I didn't say,
but they differ. That's what the point I want to also establish.
I did not say punishment. I said crime is crime.
No,
once a criminal, you're a criminal. I'm coming.
I think what he's saying is crime is crime, but he's saying the degree of crime, and the degree of punishment that is meted out.
Listen, if you steal 2 CDs, another person steals 100 million, the charge is the same. The punishment is the same. There's no. It's not as though somebody stole 100 million, so you are going to be giving bigger as well. Stealing is stealing.
Yeah.
Stealing is stealing before the law. So I'm not going to go into that part of the discourse. So these cases have been in court for 7 years. On the back of a government that promised that, we're going to have judicial trial where we have evidence that they are corrupt, and indeed they are corrupt, we are in court. To the extent that we even had in the past a former Attorney General trying to influence people to give evidence in a certain manner. All of this we have not discussed. All of this, the MPP is not awoke to that yet. And they are talking about nolly prosecutor. Well, the president's call can only be a good call to us if indeed he's calling on his people to stay and not run away from justice. I am particularly very excited about this call because, you see, beyond going after thieves, supposed thieves, corrupt individuals in government and all that, is the fact that if John Mahama misses this opportunity that Ghanaians have given to him to bring to book people who seem to be corrupt or people who are corrupt, we must as well kiss goodbye to our democracy.
But does it lie within his power to bring them to book? Is the court that will decide?
I'm going to go there. So it's a collaboration. The court, the judiciary, the legislature, and then the executive. But you need what we call the political will to prosecute all these matters.
Sure.
When it comes to crime, it lies solely on the lap of the executive, by extension, the Attorney General, to engage some of these things. So for me, I think that it's a good call. We hope that they will listen to his call, because I know his appointees are not known to be listening to their president's call. So we hope that they listen to
Wonder, but when is the 24-hour economy starting?
Well, first and foremost, you should know that by now we haven't read budgets. We are still working on their budget that is taking this country nowhere. So by 14th of March, hopefully, I think the budget will be read. But already the office of the 24-hour economy has been established, waiting for legal mandate to proceed. That will be captured in the budget. It will give oxygen to it to establish it proper by law. And then Gusitano, who is supposed to lead that charge, will implement it. However, even on the sidelines, the MP has just announced that they are going to introduce some meters that you can go to a fueling station at 2 o'clock, 1 o'clock, discharge your own fuel, and you're gone.
But what isn't the policy?
So we're going to have that.
Isn't the policy supposed to be running on one job, 3 people doing it on 3 hours, on 3 shifts?
So that's not all there is. That's the human resource part of it. We're talking. That's what we call it economy, not a human resource, not just a human capital. We want the economy to be running. People working at all times. The economy itself is running. For instance, I should be able to walk in. For instance, my bank, for instance, I'm able to cash out money at 8 p.m. already. I mean, it's one of their branches. If that can be extended to many other places, fine. DVLA has also just announced that they are going to be one of the first group of department and agencies that will start the 24-hour economy. So, indeed, it's a process, and that process would also be partly played by the private sector when we give them the right environment, security, energy, and then the legal framework to be able to do it. Sometimes too, we may have to support them, financially.
But the government sector will also play a role.
Of course, the government sector will play a role.
And you need people to do that.
Sure.
So why sack people that government as a machinery has employed already?
Well, if you talk about dismissal, I'm sure you want to talk about the revocation of some appointments.
Yes, because Dr. Bawumia is asking President Mahama to reverse those revocations.
No, Bawumia just found his moral high ground so suddenly. When he won government in 2017, and almost everybody was sacked, he had no business with that. But be that as it may, let's. I mean, those who were employed, you've forgotten that your Safo went to Parliament and even condemning that when the transition team was formed, within that period, we could not even do anything. What are you talking about? Was Safo not the leader in your public sector reform at the time?
But do you have evidence that they sacked people? Because they've been contesting it since the issue came.
They were suspended. They weren't sacked.
They said show document that
she's just saying they were suspended. She said suspended.
No, the appointment was suspended, but the people were not sacked.
Yes.
Unlike this is a revocation, which means they're completely terminated. But what they did was to say, hold on.
If you listen to the press briefing of Felix Wosukwashi yesterday, Honorable, what he said was that all these people's appointment that were revoked was first of all in breach of the transition group, with the transition team at the time they were working. They had a gentleman agreement that, listen, you have already run the economy aground. You will not put extra burden, extra spokes in the wheels of government for the next government. Be circumspect in the decisions you take. Even payments were done within that period. You remember there was a lot of brouhaha about it. Now, there's a process of recruitment. You can't just get up and say, I'm recruiting somebody overnight, and then the person is at post without the necessary requirements for the position. These were some of the things we found out. People were employed after 7th of January, and their letters were backdated 4 months, 5 months, backwards. That's actually stealing from the public purse. Because for no work done, you haven't worked for 4 months before your appointment. Yet you see appointments that were backdated. So some of these things are being investigated. If indeed no wrong has been committed and they can be deployed in any other environment, why not? Again, the position is not. It is not the role of government.
Based on your point, why then was the keyword not suspend, but rather because you say that you are investigating?
Yes.
When no wrong is done,
you
would.
For some of them,
yes, you would reassign.
Yeah, they will be re-engaged, but they can actually reapply.
Interesting.
They can actually reapply.
Because basically, you see,
I would have been worried. No, I would have
terminated the appointment too. Yeah. So if you finish your investigation, you ask them to reapply.
So should the state but should also in the same vein, should the state agency for which they were appointed also go blank because some investigation is going on? If you observe, almost all the positions are acting. Some of them are pending board approval and all that. So it's not as if a substantive has been appointed and therefore you cannot come back. I think that these are labor issues that can be resolved at any time. I don't think that is a problem. I would have been worried if it was, say, police, military, and all those recruitment. In fact, Some of those ones. No.
The Interior Minister issued.
Hold on.
In fact, those in the nurses and midwives were even threatening industrial action if their appointments are revoked. Recently,
nurses and midwives needed clearance from the finance minister, and that must come through the budget. Something that has not appeared in the budget. No clearance has been given by Parliament. You went ahead to employ them. That's actually a criminal activity. That's actually not good governance. That's not accountability. So what do you expect the new government to do? This is a government that has left so much hole in our purse, and we have to fill it up. Yeah, and this same government goes around to create for us a problem.
Just a second. That's where there's a little drop of doubt in everything that you're saying. Let me take you back to when you initially assumed office. There was a talk about fuel, and there was only like 5 hours fuel stock, and the fuel available will take us for a number of days. I've forgotten the exact number of days. And then we didn't see the fuel. You said you had made emergency arrangements to purchase fuel. We didn't see it actually happening. But the light was kept on for a while. Just a second, Doc. Just for a second, Doc. Now, this what we're discussing now. Phyllis Kwachif also has cited backdating application or appointment letters and all that. Anomalies, the ones that he's mentioning. But as a media personality, I haven't actually cited any of these backdated letters or any of these irregularities that they're talking about. It's just what they are saying to us. Would it be terribly wrong if you can show us that, for example, these 100 people whose appointment letters, who didn't go through interviews, who didn't apply, but were appointed, and this is why we're... Otherwise,
this is a country, this is a country of law. First of all, appointment or getting an appointment letter is a confidential document between you, the employer, and the employee.
But this has become a national issue now,
it is not in our place as government. We are not aggrieved in this matter to put out this information. First and foremost, we wait. Those who even came to make the complaints, none of them has even shown you letters of their sack. Indeed, even if they were letters of their sack, let them produce also letters of their appointment. And then we can speak to it. But for us to now be the ones... For us to now be the ones...
I think we can cite the Ghana Water one that wrote specifically and telling the workers that if your appointment was done in November 2024 downwards, your appointment has been terminated.
Yes.
Pursuant to the directive from the presidency.
Show us something. Is all we're saying.
Yeah. So
Kabir, will you allow me to talk?
You are too much in a hurry. I think you are too much in a hurry.
Let's give on this matter. And then we come
so
to you.
On some of those specific ones, I told you that there are a gamut of issues. One, backdating, which in this particular case we are not told yet what happened to that appointment. Then we also saw that right after elections on the 7th, there were a lot of, shenanigans in terms of employment. And then some of the employment from the back door. These are all public service institutions. And some of these people should have been employed through the public service department. Some should have been employed through the civil service. And none of this was done. If an MD decides today and say, I'm employing directors, and never recruited that from the public service, neither from the civil service, you think that should stand and that is fair? What about the others who were duly qualified and never got a chance because they were not close to a minister or to an MD to enjoy some of this? Indeed, they may all be Ghanaians, but they deserve equal opportunities. So and that's what we're saying.
All of the people had, like Felix
I'm saying that if any of the people sacked, that's have a case. There is the Labour Commission is there to address some of these issues.
Let me put this to you, Manilo. This government came into power. On accountability,
because you're the one in
government. Just a second. These three words, transparency, accountability, jobs. Do you think these three elements are playing out here? One, these are jobs that are being terminated. These are appointments and recruitments that are being terminated. You are actually taking jobs out of the hands of Ghanaians. In terms of accountability, maybe you're saying that the public purse, we cannot handle the excess numbers. In due time, you open recruitment and all that. But in terms of transparency, what is the evidence that thousands of appointments and recruitments are all flawed with anomalies and not even one follow due process, and you are terminating all these appointments and recruitments, and you are just telling us this.
No, but I think you have not been patient enough. For all the things you know today is because you heard it. So we will continue to tell you what it is.
But the lives of Ghanaians are hanging in the balance while we wait for you to show us why.
Others who were also wrongfully, who were also denied. Fairness. If you want to recruit an MD, which the act says you must go through Public Services Commission, and you didn't go through the Public Services Commission, and you recruited from the back door. What about the many other Ghanaians who are equally Ghanaians?
Let's
and
take
deserve
Doc's take on this now. Hold on.
So we need to be fair.
Dr. Kabiru, you've been smiling mischievously.
Even Kabiru himself, somebody was fired and he took his position at the time. So he won't talk to
nothing
this.
of that happened. Nothing of that happened. There's this exposed rationalization of brute injustice that have occasioned the Ghanaian people by a very government that came on the back of jobs for people, 1 job, 3 people, 3 what?
Yeah, 3 shifts. But he says their budget is yet to.
It's not possible. It is possible, is it not?
This is what the Ghanaian people are served with. Look, it is not true that most of these appointments they have revoked only happen on the 11th hour. Appointment takes time. Most of these people started a process of interview, screening, aptitude test, all the way to their appointment. He says there was agreement at transit. There was no agreement. You remember when they even raised this issue? Fatima, who was a core spokesperson, said that we don't have any agreement on this. The fact that the incoming government says they want this doesn't make it the law. We are in this country. Mr. Domelo was appointed after Mr. Mahama had lost power.
Joseph Whittal. Joseph Whittal too.
Yes, Whittal, the Shiraj of NCC.
Is that NCC? No, it's not NCC. That's Shiraj.
Shiraj,
yes.
Right.
You see, the rationalization then was that the fact that you've lost power doesn't mean that your mandate has ended.
Yeah.
And that you have all the way up to the 7th where your mandate will have ended. That was 8 years ago. Those appointments were never revoked. None of such appointments. Mr. Osofo would have raised that it is only good that those that are done illegally be. But coming to power, you know that you needed to govern. You don't need to separate between NDC and MPP. You are coming on the back to tell us that those people who were appointed were MPP people. That's basically what they are telling the good people of Ghana.
We haven't said that.
Because if they will consider them as Ghanaians, people who deserve to have butter on their bread, people who are supposed to also bring something for their family to be fed, you will not contemplate a minute to even think of the possibility of revoking someone's appointment. You are adding to the unemployment situation. You are basically taking away jobs from Ghanaians. And you are now telling the Ghanaian people that, and people will have paid such people's salary. You say you don't have money to pay them. And people would have paid them.
Never said that.
But you are saying that there is no budget, people are not. That's basically what you are saying. So if you are telling me there's no budget, you are telling me that there was no money to pay them. I'm not putting those words into your mouth. You have told the Ghanaian people live on television that there is no budget to pay those people. And I'm saying that the MPP government had made provision, and most of those people, almost all of them, because I don't have the full facts of it, that's why I'm using my word, choosing my word carefully. You cannot employ someone without financial clearance. It's common law, Public Financial Management Act. Okay, every single person that was employed by the GRA, by the Ghana Water Company Limited, by Minerals Commission, by the Interior Ministry, were all given financial clearance. Now you go to terminate those appointments. And you sit, call the press, address the press, and you are not even sensitive to how the families of these people will feel. And you have the moral high ground to even tell those people that they were not recruited properly. Well, elections have consequences, and this is one of the consequences Ghanaians will have to bear in the next 4 years. But I'm clear in my mind that no law has been breached in the appointment of those people. The government may only be up against several lawsuits or several arbitration under the Labour Act because unlawful dismissal of a person. It's just that most of these people don't have the agency. A poor graduate who just come out of a university
does
not have the agency, to put the government, to hold the government to ensure that his rights is enforced.
Some actually threaten legal action. Our time is fast spent. We have only one more issue to go.
No, just a clarification on the issue of Attorney General.
That should be 30 seconds.
Sorry, Auditor General, NCC, and all that. These are constitutional appointments. It's a constitutional matter for which their tenure is guaranteed. For instance, it's like coming to office and trying to say you want to change the Chief Justice. There's a process of removal of an
NCC. If the process of appointment is not regular, it's not regular, someone can challenge it.
Hold on.
So you don't fact that it's a constitutional matter that the president can appoint.
Gentlemen, have you heard that? Wait, just a second.
With your Auditor General for all period.
Have you heard that illegal miners have blocked the Forestry Commission's access, hijacking 9 reserves? Have you heard that story?
I haven't, addressed my mind to that, but
I'm telling you now. And if you were to make an educated guess, what do you think emboldened them to do that? Illegal miners blocking Forestry Commission's access.
No, to be honest with you, this has been ongoing. It's not now. You've heard the Aisha, whatever case. They were all, part of the.
I'd like us to discuss this as the current situation, what's happening now.
I'm coming. Okay. So we can't take it in isolation. The illegal miners in this country have been very bold. We all know that. The seizure of excavators was out of their boldness, being overboard. So government had to put in a task force. The act of pollution of the water bodies is also an act of boldness because they knew of the existence of laws that prevents them from doing it. But the disregard for our laws, the disregard for the security services, the disregard for even the town folks, the disregard for traditional authority, including even a minister that grants them the license, is what has led us today. So this is not an isolated case. It has been an ongoing case. But I can tell you for a fact, they are also seeing that there's a change of government. And so if there's a way to explore, government is not settled yet. Security apparatus has just been put in place. They want to exploit some of these areas.
Thousands of Ghanaians poured onto the streets.
However, no, you listen to me.
Let me make a point so they can add it to your reflection. Thousands of Ghanaians poured out to the streets. And we're voicing our displeasure against this canker that is eating at the fiber of this country's our quest for development, even our human lives, water, drinking water, and all that. And we thought that the Eswal administration had failed us drastically. Therefore, we're giving you the chance to see if you can turn the situation around. 2 months on, we have illegal miners. We've even named people who are NDC members. Case in point, our MP. And you're saying that we cannot discuss this without drawing reference on what happened in the past. But we put you here because we trusted that you'd be able to nip it in the bud.
No, you're getting it all wrong.
Okay.
First and foremost, it's not 2 months since we've been in office.
Okay.
It's not 2 months. So it's either that you're expecting so much from us, which we will deliver.
It's okay. You've been in office for over a month now. Is that accurate?
Yeah, however, I have just told you that all the appointment within the security sector, all the appointments within the security sector are not even set yet. We don't even have a deputy minister for interior, deputy minister for defense. They are yet to go for their vetting.
So
hold on. Okay. So I'm telling you I'm telling you about.
Let them fight the Galamsey.
Kabiru, you had 8 years to fight this Galamsey. You couldn't. Okay. So 2 months is not. It's not as though we're asking for too much. But I'm saying that it's an ongoing process. It's an ongoing engagement, and I know for a fact, and where we sit, that one of the things we want to do is to take care of this Galamsey issue holistically. It is not just about the few people who have blocked roads of a forestry commission. It is not about the few people who are, doing illegal mining. It's about the holistic management of our environment as a whole.
Which is what's the strategy then?
Wanda, is the Galamsey issue a national security issue?
Of course, it's a national security issue.
When did you know this?
We have always known that.
Okay. So, did you devise a strategy to execute when you were in opposition?
Of course we do that. We did.
When are you waiting to start implementing the strategy?
Again, I told you that security issues are not just one-off projects or one-off thing you do. It's a long chain of events.
Yes.
Now, today we are told that some have blocked, I haven't seen actually, but they have blocked access of Forestry Commission, team members to go into some of those places. It is not as though government is sleeping.
Yeah, I know you're not sleeping. It's not I know you're not sleeping, but you see, you admitted that this is a national security issue.
Of course.
Right.
Of course.
Once it's a national security issue, and you knew the devastation this Galamsey was causing, were you expecting to spend like 100 days before you
But
start?
are you also saying that just because we are putting measures so people criminal-minded people who still test the system. Is that the suggestion?
Because we've not begun.
That can be the suggestion.
We're not seeing anything here.
No,
that's why.
That's not true. That can be the suggestion.
What is being done now?
No.
What are you doing?
Currently, at the Forestry Commission level, what government is doing is that we actually have a team that is working on the ground. First of all, which areas have been devastated? Why were they devastated? The various licenses that have been issued. You know that His Excellency the President had actually spoken to that. Even our own Felicity Sukwashi has spoken to that. In collaboration with the Lands and Forestry Minister, have all spoken to that. We need to know the extent of some of these issues. It's one thing being in government, it's another thing being in opposition and see from afar. Now in government,
so you know exactly how you know the extent.
That architecture is being put in place. And I can assure you, we have not even gone to read budgets yet to even know the exact attitude, the exactitude of figures we are dealing with yet. We are only receiving figures from transition team, which we are working with for now. So you will need to give us a little bit more of time to address this holistically.
I was thinking that as a bench player, when you are sitting on the bench, your manager is telling you, you see that player there. The strategy is that when you go in, tackle him, make sure
that's what we've been doing all the while.
But you've come in.
No.
30 days, 31 days has elapsed.
Yes.
In the next 28 months, we have done 20 days.
No.
And so let's say,
I know the expectations of our country, of our government is very high.
We get it. But the bench player should be able to come and change the game.
No. We're not in a rush to
Let's hear from those who were on the field.
We're not in a rush to make mistakes.
Government is either sleeping or on honeymoon on this fight against Galamsey.
Come on.
And
you also spent 8 years.
And I want to repeat it.
8 years.
Government is either sleeping
31 years
or on honeymoon on the fight against Galamsey.
Kabiru.
81
days.
8 years. 8 years in power. 8 years in power. The MPP government has been punished with a catastrophic defeat. Ghanaian people rejected the New Patriotic Party, among other reasons, because of our failure to address comprehensively the Galamsey menace. We have taken the fall. The obvious punishment has been meted out to the New Patriotic Party. There's no point holding the MPP ransom again for whatever happens in the case of the fight against Galamsey, because we have paid the ultimate price. So if people come here to tell me that 8 years you were in power, that is double jeopardy.
32 days.
That is double jeopardy, because the Ghanaian people had already punished the New Patriotic Party for that inability to address it.
Unfortunately, the director keeps telling us that we overran, so we have to
but that's not fair. That's not fair. I need to make, and I want to even make an. That's what I wanted my issue to come last. So you give me 30 minutes after which to address that.
Don't have
so on that, I think that this government told us they had a plan to address Galamsey. 1 month into the office, we should see the plan be implemented. Not the purposeless lamentation of a minister for lands coming to parliament to lament, asking us to give the support. As a matter of fact, the Ghanaian people has already given you the mandate to execute and curtail Galamsey. So that is the point. And I don't think that
8 years
this rationalization of time will give you. Let's give them 3 months. Or you want half a year. We'll give you. Look, we'll give you 6 months. Let's come back to this table.
Yes.
And then address it.
Now
6 months. We're giving the 6 months. On the issue, I want to use this medium because I thought we were going to discuss, but you find a way of bringing it earlier briefly as a comment. On the issue of I want to appeal that to the Interior Ministry to consider seriously the review of this particular decision to impose curfew in Wale Wale. Once I do that, I also want to take a minute to appeal to the people of Wale Wale to help the security services maintain law and order. And I want to do this in a minute in my local language so that everyone...
that's perfect. Yes.
Yeah, so, Walwad man boazan baka pushia kaya ne naundia soko pam. Den nang ma te sorab tihno kanton te sorab tihno kabur bete sorab bur kanna. Ma ya sushenya ya sung bansu to de tungban no fokmusma ka ba tung bu tungban ma ka so do bene. Yerne ya to ashadin ya chaka bazang zalkwana namba ma nuhne ntumia chuta be ntumia birum ya susia ne ka chaka so yinne ka chaka nangban yinne ka chaka so do be tangban mane ka to bob mal konti ya to ashisa ampatma na on dia so I'm just trying to tell.
Yes.
But I'm just trying to tell that I'm just urging them to help the security agencies to maintain peace. They shouldn't do any act that will let the security agencies take the law into their own hands and then try to mete out further brutalities on them. What has happened, we never expected it to happen. Be that it has happened. They should cooperate and let us have lasting peace in the country.
The regional minister.
I mean, the regional minister, I will just appeal to you to actually also ensure that there is discipline, but you should also be mindful of your utterances. Your utterances has caused the utterance has caused you more pain than it should have helped you. Once you try to build bridges with the people, and I also want to apologize on behalf of the people who might have attacked you, but the security personnel who killed one of the officers, one person from Logri, Mr. Kadri, was killed. Another youth organizer, of one police station organizer, Mr. Alhaji Sumail Abawa, was also killed. All in the hands of the military personnel in Wale Wale. Please give them justice and let this family know that we are not in a state of, we are not in a jungle where people can just kill other people for no reason. And also the people who are killing the innocent people on the roof.
Abdul Mohammed, Member of Parliament for Wale Wale. We also had in studio joining us Madilo Wanda, Development Analyst and member of the NDC Communications team. They join us to discuss a myriad of issues of national interest. Stay with us. We'll be back with more on the AM show.
Terminated.
Yes.
Pursuant to the directive from the presidency.
Show us something. Is all we are saying.
Yeah. So
Kabir, will you allow me to?
You have too much in a hurry. I think you are too much in a hurry.
Let's give on this matter. And then we come to you.
On some of those specific ones, I told you that there are a gamut of issues. One, backdating, which in this particular case we are not told yet what happened to that appointment. Then we also saw that right after elections on the 7th, there were a lot of shenanigans in terms of employment, and then some of the employment from the back door. These are all public service institutions, and some of these people should have been employed through the public service department. Some should have been employed through the civil service, and none of this was done. If an MD decides today and say, I'm employing directors, and never recruited that from the public service, neither from the civil service, you think that should stand and that is fair? What about the others who were duly qualified and never got a chance because they were not close to a minister or to an MD to enjoy some of this? Indeed, they may all be Ghanaians, but they deserve equal opportunities.
So
and that's what we're saying.
All of the people had, like Felix said,
saying that if any of the people sacked does have a case, there is the Labour Commission is there to address some of these issues.
Let me put this to you, Manilo. This government came into power. Accountability,
because you're the one in government.
But how does no?
Just a second. These three words: transparency, accountability, jobs. Do you think these three elements are playing out here? One, these are jobs that are being terminated. These are appointments and recruitments that are being terminated. You are actually taking jobs out of the hands of Ghanaians. No. In terms of accountability, maybe you're saying that the public purse, we cannot handle the excess numbers. In due time, you open recruitment and all that. Yes. But in terms of transparency, what is the evidence that thousands of appointments and recruitments are all flawed with anomalies and not even one follow due process, and you are terminating all these appointments and recruitments, and you are just telling us this.
No, but I think you have not been patient enough. For all the things you know today is because you heard it. So we will continue to tell you what it is.
But the lives of Ghanaians are hanging in the balance while we wait for you to show us why.
Others who were also wrongfully, who were also denied. Fairness. If you want to recruit an MD, okay, which the Act says you must go through Public Services Commission, and you didn't go through the Public Services Commission, and you recruited from the back door. What about the many other Ghanaians who are equally Ghanaians?
Let's take Dr. take on this now. Hold on.
So we need to be fair.
Dr. Kabiru, you've been smiling mischievously.
Kabiru himself, somebody was fired and he took his position at the time. So
nothing of that happened. Nothing of that happened. There's this exposed rationalization of brute injustice that have occasioned the Ghanaian people by a very government that came on the back of jobs for people, one job 3 people, 3 what?
Yeah, 3 shifts. But he says their budget is here too.
It's not possible. It is possible, is it not?
This is what the Ghanaian people are served with. Look, it is not true that most of these appointments they have revoked only happen on the 11th hour. Appointment takes time. Most of these people started a process of interview, screening, aptitude tests, all the way to their appointment. He says there was agreement at transit. There was no agreement. You remember when they even raised this issue? Fatima, who was a core spokesperson, said that we don't have any agreement on this. The fact that the incoming government says they want this doesn't make it the law. We are in this country. Mr. Domelo was appointed after Mr. Mahama had lost power.
Joseph Whittal. Joseph Whittal too.
Yes, Whittal, the Shiraj or NCC.
Is that NCC? No, it's not NCC. That's Shiraj.
Shiraj,
yes.
Right.
You see, the rationalization then was that the fact that you've lost power doesn't mean that your mandate has ended. And that you have all the way up to the 7th where your mandate will have ended. That was 8 years ago. Those appointments were never revoked. None of such appointments. Mr. Osofo would have raised that it is only good that those that are done illegally be. But coming to power, you know that you needed to govern. You don't need to separate between NDC and MPP. You are coming on the back to tell us that those people were appointed were MPP people. That's basically what they are telling the good people.
We haven't said that.
Because if they were considered as Ghanaians, people who deserve to have butter on their bread, people who are supposed to also bring something for their family to be fed, you will not contemplate a minute to even think of the possibility of revoking someone's appointment. You are adding to the unemployment situation. You are basically taking away jobs from Ghanaians. And you are now telling the Ghanaian people that and people would have paid such people's salary. You say you don't have money to pay them. And people would have paid them.
Never said that.
But you are saying that there is no budget, people are not. That's basically what you are saying. So if you are telling me there's no budget, you are telling me that there was no money to pay them. I'm not putting those words into your mouth. You have told the Ghanaian people live on television that there is no budget to pay those people. And I'm saying that the MPP government had made provision, and most of those people, almost all of them, because I don't have the full facts of it, that's why I'm choosing my word carefully. You cannot employ someone without financial clearance. It's common law, Public Financial Management Act. Okay, every single person that was employed by the GRA, by the Ghana Water Company Limited, by Minerals Commission, by the Interior Ministry were all given financial clearance. Now you go to terminate those appointments. And you sit, call the press, address the press, and you are not even sensitive to how the families of these people will feel. And you have the moral high ground to even tell those people that they were not recruited properly. Well, elections have consequences, and this is one of the consequences Ghanaians will have to bear in the next 4 years. But I'm clear in my mind that no law has been breached in the appointment of those people. The government may only be up against several lawsuits or several arbitration under the Labour Act because unlawful dismissal of a person. It's just that most of these people don't have the agency. A poor graduate who just come out of a university does not have the agency, to put the government, to hold the government, to ensure that his right is enforced.
Some actually threaten legal action. Our time is fast spent. We have only one more issue to go.
Just a clarification on the issue of Attorney General.
That should be 30 seconds.
Auditor General, NCC, and all that. These are constitutional appointments. It's a constitutional matter for which their tenure is guaranteed. For instance, it's like coming to office and trying to say you want to change the Chief Justice. There's a process of removal of an
If the process of appointment is not regular, it's not regular, someone can challenge it.
Hold on.
So you don't fact there is a constitutional matter that the president can appoint.
Gentlemen, have you heard that? Wait, just a second.
With your Auditor General for all period.
Have you heard that illegal miners have blocked the Forestry Commission's access, hijacking 9 reserves? Have you heard that story?
I haven't, addressed my mind to that, but
I'm telling you now, and if you were to make an educated guess, what do you think emboldened them to do that? Illegal miners blocking Forestry Commission's access.
No, to be honest with you, this has been ongoing. It's not now. You've heard the Aisha whatever case. They were all, part of the.
I'd like us to discuss this as the current situation, what's happening now.
I'm coming. Okay. So we can't take it in isolation. The illegal miners in this country have been very bold. We all know that. The seizure of excavators was out of their boldness, being overboard. So government had to put in a task force. The act of pollution of the water bodies is also an act of boldness because they knew of the existence of laws that prevents them from doing it. But the disregard for our laws, the disregard for the security services, the disregard for even the town folks, the disregard for traditional authority, including even a minister that grants them the license, is what has led us today. So this is not an isolated case. It has been an ongoing case. But I can tell you for a fact, they are also seeing that there's a change of government. And so if there's a way to explore, government is not settled yet. Security apparatus have just been put in place. They want to exploit some of these areas.
Thousands of Ghanaians poured onto the streets.
However, you listen to me.
Let me make a point so that you can add it to your reflection. Thousands of Ghanaians poured out to the streets. And we're voicing our displeasure against this canker that is eating at the fiber of this country's our quest for development, even our human lives, water, drinking water and all that. And we thought that the Eswal administration had failed us drastically. Therefore, we're giving you the chance to see if you can turn the situation around. 2 months on, we have illegal miners. We've even named people who are NDC members. Case in point, our MP. And you're saying that we cannot discuss this without drawing reference on what happened in the past. But we put you here because we trusted that you'd be able to nip it in the bud.
No, you're getting it all wrong.
Okay.
First and foremost, it's not 2 months since we've been in office.
Okay.
It's not 2 months. So it's either that you're expecting so much from us, which we will deliver.
It's okay. You've been in office for over a month now. Is that accurate?
Yeah, however, I have just told you that all the appointment within the security sector, are not even set yet. We don't even have a deputy minister for interior, deputy minister for defense. They are yet to go for their vetting.
So
hold on. Okay. So I'm telling you I'm telling you about.
And let them fight the Galamsey.
Kabiru, you had 8 years to fight this Galamsey. You couldn't. So 2 months is not. It's not as though we're asking for too much. But I'm saying that it's an ongoing process. It's an ongoing engagement, and I know for a fact, and where we sit, that one of the things we want to do is to take care of this Galamsey issue holistically. It is not just about the few people who have blocked roads of a forestry commission. It is not about the few people who are, doing illegal mining. It's about the holistic management of our environment as a whole.
Which is what's the strategy then?
Wanda, is the Galamsey issue a national security issue?
Of course, it's a national security issue.
When did you know this?
We have always known that.
Okay. So, did you devise a strategy to execute when you were in opposition?
Of course we do that. We did.
When are you waiting to start implementing the strategy?
Again, I told you that security issues are not just one-off projects or one-off thing you do. It's a long chain of events.
Yes.
Now, today we are told that some have blocked, I haven't seen actually, but they have blocked access of Forestry Commission, team members to go into some of those places. It is not as though government is sleeping.
Yeah, I know you're not sleeping.
It's not
I know you're not sleeping, but you see, you admitted that this is a national security issue.
Of course.
Right.
Of course.
Once it's a national security issue, and you knew the devastation this Galamsey was causing, were you expecting to have to spend like 100 days before you
But
start?
are you also saying that just because we are putting measures so people, criminal-minded people, won't still test the system? Is that the suggestion?
Because we've not begun.
That can be the
we're not
suggestion.
seeing anything yet.
No,
that's why.
That's not true. That can be the suggestion.
What is being done now?
No.
What are you doing?
Currently, at the Forestry Commission level, what government is doing is that we actually have a team that is working on the ground first of all, which areas have been devastated, why were they devastated, the various licenses that have been issued. You know that His Excellency the President had actually spoken to that. Even our own Felicity Osukwashi has spoken to that. In collaboration with the Lands and Forestry Minister, have all spoken to that. We need to know the extent of some of these issues. It's one thing being in government, it's another thing being in opposition and see from afar. Now in government,
you know exactly how you know the extent.
That architecture is being put in place. And I can assure you, we are not even going to read budgets yet to even know the exact attitude, the exactitude of figures we are dealing with yet. We are only receiving figures from transition team, which we are working with for now. So you will need to give us a little bit more of time to address this holistically.
I was thinking that as a bench player, when you are sitting on the bench, your manager is telling you, you see that player there. The strategy is that when you go in, tackle him, make sure
that's what we've been doing all the while.
But you've come in. 31 days has elapsed.
Yes.
In the next 28 months, we have done 20 days.
No.
And so let's say.
I know the expectations of our country, of our government is very high.
We get it. But the bench player should be able to come and change the game.
No. We're not in a rush to make mistakes.
Let's hear from those who were on the field.
We're not in a rush to make mistakes.
Government is either sleeping or on honeymoon on this fight against Galamsey.
Come on.
And you also spent 8 years.
And I want to repeat it.
8 years.
Government is either sleeping
if 31 years
or on honeymoon on the fight against Galamsey.
Kabiru.
81 days. 8 years. 8 years in power. 8 years in power. The MPP government has been punished with a catastrophic defeat. Ghanaian people rejected the New Patriotic Party, among other reasons, because of our failure to address comprehensively the Galamsey menace. We have taken the fall. The obvious punishment has been meted out to the New Patriotic Party. There's no point holding the MPP ransom again for whatever happens in the case of the fight against Galamsey, because we have paid the ultimate price. So if people come here to tell me that 8 years you were in power, that is double jeopardy.
32 days.
That is double jeopardy, because the Ghanaian people had already punished the New Patriotic Party for that inability to address it.
Unfortunately, the director keeps telling us that we overran, so we have to...
But that's not fair. That's not fair. I need to make, and I want to even make an... That's what I wanted my issue to come at last. So you give me 30 minutes after we to address that. So on that, I think that this government told us they had a plan to address Galamsey. 1 month into the office, we should see the plan be implemented. Not the purposeless lamentation of a minister for lands coming to parliament to lament, asking us to give the support. As a matter of fact, the Ghanaian people has already given you the mandate to execute and curtail Galamsey. So that is the point. And I don't think that
8 years
this rationalization of time will give you. Let's give them 3 months. Or you want half a year. We'll give you, look, we'll give you 6 months. Let's come back to this table.
Yes.
And then address it.
Now
6 months. On the issue, I want to use this medium because I thought we were going to discuss, but you find a way of bringing it earlier briefly as a comment. On the issue of I want to appeal that to the Interior Ministry to consider seriously the review of this particular decision to impose curfew in Walewale. Whilst I do that, I also want to take a minute to appeal to the people of Walewale to help the security services maintain law and order. And I want to do this in a minute in my local language so that everyone...
that's perfect. Yes.
Yeah, so, Walwad man boazan baka pushia kene na ondia so ko pam. Den nangma te sorabti no kanton te sorabti no kabur bete sorabur kanna. Ma ya sushenya ya sung bansu to de tungban no fokmusma ka ba tung bu tungban ma ka so do abene. Yerne ya to ashadi ya chaka bazang zalkwana namba ma nuhne ntumia chuta be ntumia birum ya susia ne ka chaka so yinne ka chaka nangban yinne ka chaka so do abeta ngban mane ka to bob malkonti ya to ashisa ampatma na on dia so I'm just trying to tell.
Yes.
I'm just trying to tell that I'm just urging them to help the security agencies to maintain peace. They shouldn't do any act that will let the security agencies take the law into their own hands and then try to mete out further brutalities on them. What has happened, we never expected it to happen. Be that it has happened. they should cooperate and let us have lasting peace in the country.
The regional minister.
I mean,
the regional minister, I will just appeal to you to actually also ensure that there is discipline, but you should also be mindful of your utterance. Your utterances has caused the utterance has caused you more pain than it should have helped you. Once you try to build bridges with the people, and I also want to apologize on behalf of the people who might have attacked you, but the security personnel who killed one of the officers, one person from Logri, Mr. Kadri, was killed. Another youth organizer of one polling station organizer, Mr. Alhaji Sumail Abawa, was also killed. All in the hands of the military personnel in Wale Wale. Please give them justice and let this family know that we are not in a state of, we are not in a jungle where people can just kill other people for no reason. And also the people who are killing the innocent people on the road.
Abdul Mohammed, Member of Parliament for Wale Wale. We also had in studio joining us Madilo Wanda, Development Analyst and member of the NDC Communications team. They join us to discuss a myriad of issues of national interest. Stay with us. We'll be back with more on the AM show.
Right, so we are coming to you live from the office of the Minority Leader of Ghana's Parliament, the Member of Parliament for Efutu in the Central Region, Alexander Afenyo Marken, and he's become, if you like, the face of politics in Ghana now because of his stance on a lot of national issues on the floor of Parliament, even leading a minority side in the House. There's been a lot of issues around the country from the OSPs, you know, certain action that the OSP has taken to government decision to lay off some individuals that were employed and put on the public payroll after the elections, if you like, and then even before that. And several national issues that are of concern to him. And so we're going to engage him on a lot of issues this evening. Honorable Alexander Afenyo Marken, you're welcome to Joy News.
Thank you for having me on this, your very respected platform.
The work never stops. I mean, we are looking at it this time of the day. You've been here since morning, you are still here. And I wonder whether you have time to attend to domestic issues at home, even have time with family, the kids especially.
Well, we are managing. We have to manage. We've signed up to do public service, and it has its own challenges. So we're doing it, we balance it off with family life because the family needs you alive. To be effective and efficient, you need to have some peace at home. So it's not lost on us that we keep the peace at home and then be able to do our work. But truth be told, it's very challenging.
It is.
Carrying the party on your shoulder in Parliament requires listening to everybody, taking decision and being responsible for decisions that you take. You have to be all alert on the floor with your research team, researching on all manner of issues so that you would have them handy. But I've been a politician for the better part of my adult life.
Right.
So I'm used to it. I mean, being part of this chamber since 2013, I've understudied other leaders, seen the inner workings of Parliament. So at least that gives me the benefit of appreciating some of the nuances of the chamber.
And your beautiful office is adored with pictures of family members.
Yeah,
your wedding pictures, your family members.
Yeah. So
is that to tell you that beyond politics, there's a family back there that you need to attend to?
So I position pictures here very strategically. So on this right side, I have my dad, my mom in the middle, and my stepdad. The three of them, you know. I look at all their contributions to my life, so I sit there to take inspiration from them in moments of difficulty. I just look at them, and then just behind my seat, I have the party forebearers.
The former president.
You have Buzia, you have JB Dankwa, you have Kufo, you have Edubuahin, you have former President Akufo-Addo. So that is my strength.
Right.
This is where I carry the source of my power to lead the party in Parliament. These are the owners of the party, so to speak. Then when I sit at this corner, I look right ahead of me to also take inspiration from Nkrumah, you know, our first president, a great nationalist leader who has done so much for the country as our founding president.
Right.
And then in Parliament, there's one woman who is my source of inspiration.
And that's Patricia Piaget.
Patricia Piaget. Before she became my deputy, this was a mother figure to me in Parliament, who in all difficulties and dangers, she would come to me. And then she's a Catholic like myself, so we'll be talking about the effect of the rosary and the power of our rosary, and talking about prayer. And we took that picture. So I always have it there.
Sure.
And then that's one with my dear wife.
The first lady.
We have another one. And the wedding picture is right by me at 23 when I took that bold decision to take her to the altar. And then we started a union there. And then behind me is, in fullness of time, all things shall align.
Which is Sky.
This came from my good friend Richard, where very low moments in my political life, Sky was there, and he had to encourage me and talk to me. And I always remember Richard's last words in leaving my house would be that, Alexo, in the fullness of time, all things shall align. So seeing myself in all the low moments of life, we came into Parliament, we got power. I didn't make it to the executive. I wasn't lucky to be in leadership, even at committee. I wasn't a leader at the committee level for first 4 years. It was not easy, but I had a good friend who was there to share this with me. So this is a very profound statement, and these veritable words still gives me the room to reflect. And I've been telling my friends in the NDC who have not made it that, look, don't be heartbroken. This is life. Take it easy. Your day would come.
Sure.
And I never thought I could have my day, but relying on your God and working hard. Because as for politics, when you go through difficult times, you don't have to give up. You just have to take it easy, reflect, and then, you know. So I think, my first son, when I took him to the medical school, they've covered that one. He's there. And then his other siblings are also right behind and all that. So we're trying. A lot of things make a man who he is. Our service to God and our focus on our Maker manifests in so many ways.
Right.
And as a man, in all of these things that you have around you, must give you that positive vibration, that energy to take you closer to your God.
Great.
And I think multiple factors help me to manage each day. It's not easy though, always praying that God gives me the strength to carry on.
Right. So, I mean, in public, before you actually got into public life, I know you got yourself into business.
And I'm still in. I'm still in the private sector.
And I also know the story about what motivated you to go to the law school, the Mercedes-Benz, the Dabadi Beach Hotel, and all those matters. Sure. So, I mean, and your practice, the landmark cases that you took to the Supreme Court and all those. So, when it's come to the law practice in the country, you are one of the best. Now, let's start off on this matter with the Office of the Special Prosecutor and the former Finance Minister, Ken Ofori-Atta. This afternoon, I heard you say that Ken Ofori-Atta is likely to come back to the country somewhere in May. Now, an hour or so later, we got a statement from the Office of the OASP saying that they have removed Ken Ofori-Atta from the list of wanted persons on their website, and he is no longer a fugitive from justice, at least for now, because they've gotten word from him that he will be coming to town and then avail himself to the OASP. What do you make of this?
Well, it's a positive news. Once upon a time, we were reminded by the President of America, Barack Obama, that we don't need strong men, but we need strong institutions. For me, the pillars of democracy can better be effective when we see that organically they are being allowed to grow and becoming more functional, rather than looking at the individuals. Therefore, I think that what the OSP has done is commendable. A crime is a crime. It does not go away with time. And if this office is investigating, it doesn't matter what, it still can do its work. So I didn't like it when people were attacking the person of the OSP, I mean the special prosecutor.
Right.
I mean, I didn't think that there was a need to attack his person. You know, if there was anything that people disagreed, we use the system to correct it. And I believe he himself is a practitioner.
But your
of the
side
law.
was not happy with the initial route
Well,
the
it's
OSP took.
It's always like that. And I think that I took it upon myself to engage and to help manage the situation. And by the grace of God, that clarity that was needed has been provided. The man is going through some medical procedure, and he's brought evidence from a credible medical facility, well respected all over the world, Mayo Clinic in Minnesota. And I'm sure with that indication, the OSP2 has given 2nd June or so as a day that, latest day that is expected.
According to the letter that came from the lawyers representing Mr. Ofori-Atta, in their communication...
Between 14 to 31st
exactly,
May.
Yeah, to 31st
so he has
May.
also said on the 2nd June or something. That's what I've read. So I believe that the in-person interview can be done. However, I'm sure that if the OSP wants to do a virtual engagement, that process can also start. At least it's indicated that. So let's leave it at that. I think that as a nation, we should allow our institutions to work, not to be attacking the personalities. They will make mistakes, obviously. They'll falter here and they look at the beautiful thing that the majority leader did on the floor.
Apologizing for the raid.
On behalf of government, that when those gentlemen from National Security undertook that raid, they came to the floor of the House and said, no, this thing is not right.
Martin Amidu seems to think that that apology was unwarranted.
That is his opinion.
And he's not even happy that you had to accept the apology.
No,
that's for him. What took place at Ken's house was unacceptable.
Yeah, I mean,
and for that reason,
by all standards. I mean, we've said so, but he has come to say, I'm sorry. As to the legal steps to remedy, the other remedy available to Mr. Ken Ofori-Atta, that one is his personal decision. But for me, politically, if a government says that I'm wrong, so be it. I've read Mr. Amidu's article where he's calling for a proper investigation by the states to ascertain who authorized the action and all. I believe that that could be looked at another time. But I think that for me, the apology and the condemnation was also very necessary.
And you think that Ayarga in that instant was speaking on behalf of the government?
Oh, but that's exactly what he said.
Okay.
That's what he said. You know, so for me, it ends there. But as a growing democracy, we can go a step further. Then to say that, okay, those should be brought for inquiry. That one is for us as Parliament to deal with it. I'm sure, given the circumstance, certain steps could be taken.
But this is in a broader scenario of these, issues coming up almost every day. That even some members on your side.
No, I had my drones being flown, on my property.
The Ora team denies that.
Don't mind them. They are very insincere people. Very insincere. They did it. Ablakwa came to read a search. How can you go and do a search, conduct a search on somebody's property in
Why would they target you?
They are not serious. You see, sometimes politicians think that by attacking an opponent, it breaks the opponent down and they would be popular. NDC should know that they've won. They've won with a 4-year mandate. They should be busy with implementation of their manifesto promise, rather than coming after Afenyo Markin.
They say that they are going after legally acquired state property.
Well, but how can you come to my property that I have put there since 2006?
Because they have questions for you.
Well, I'm saying that they thought it was a state land. And because I share wall, or there's a common boundary between my property and the police academy. So maybe they thought that it's a police academy property that I had illegally acquired. And unfortunately for them, that was not it. In any case, must you fly a drone on my property? And not only at Akosia village, my property in town. This one was the beachfront property, but the one at the veterinary area, they were flying drones over. And then when you are caught, you say that it is not true. So who did it? We know what they've been doing in cantonment.
There was no official communication to you?
No, they never wrote.
This was done discreetly?
They did what they did, and they had their chairman coming to vetting and carrying a search report and ignorantly reading it, and then in what he read, expose them. And so this is not a state land, So what were you looking for?
Will you be surprised if your name or your property is captured in the report that they presented to the president as one of those that requires, further probe?
I will sue them.
For trespassing or for what?
If I see anything inconsistent with the law, I'll sue them. I'll sue their individual, personalities. I'll sue each one of them. I will sue them for the law to remedy the situation. Because you see, if you win power, you don't use the power to dislodge another person. And I must admit that since Kufuor's era, the political class hasn't done well with the management of power. All of us. I'm not blaming one side. All of us, MPP, NDC, we've not done well with the management of power. We are not learning lessons. We win power, and the next thing is that go after your opponent. And for how long can you do that? 3 months, 6 months, people will get even tired of you. Look, if they like, this thing that they claim Ora, they now claim so scandal here, scandal there. Let them continue. Give them 3 months. Give them another 4 months. Ghanaians will be fed up and say, Yatia breye, usi obi abokrono, den na woye. Wo ye to abama ono, chen de e come de from puntu obra. You get what I'm saying? But sometimes we feel that by demonizing the opponent, you will become popular. It doesn't work that way. And maybe we are yet to learn lessons. But I think that
it's very unfortunate that this has become a vicious cycle, that every 4 years or 8 years, a party wins coming into power, and we want to attack opponent. You know, the NDC, they went into a meeting, huh? Watch proceedings in Parliament. They went into a meeting, and the decision was that any time I rise to speak, their backbench should start shouting. So, since that meeting, anytime, but I say, these guys, whoever gave you this idea has not helped you. That when the minority leader is on his feet, get up and be shouting. I'm not the type that when you shout, it will break me down. I will make my point. And in the chamber, look, NDC has overwhelming majority.
Right.
183 plus independent candidates, MPs making 187, right? Look, since we started, we've never had NDC filling their seats with up to 104 seats, 104 MPs. Never. Each day we enter the chamber, I cause my whip to count. And I do that for a reason.
Right.
So at any point, you will need the minority to build consensus, right, to take decisions. So you don't antagonize the minority. You don't attack the minority. That you think that if you suppress them, if you do this, you call them names. That is when you will be seen as clean. All too soon, we have seen those who were all over in town claiming to be all righteous and now claiming that they are tenants at the airport hills. We saw it.
Let me just ask just one question on the oral. I mean, they try to sue if your name or your property is captured in their reports. And as a lawyer, I mean,
I don't think they will have basis. But
again, I just want to find out
for politics,
because
they do.
You as a lawyer,
we'll meet in court.
If the AG says that is going to investigate and then ask further questions, if your property or name is captured in the report, they will have every right to question you, and that cannot amount to.
Well, I don't own a state land. I've never bought a state land, and I've not bought any property belonging to the state. So, quite reasonably, I don't expect them to gather any information on me to the effect that I bought a state land. I've never bought any state land in Accra here. I've not bought any state land in Winneba. In fact, Winneba, there's no state land there, so I cannot even own a state land. You get what I mean? I've not bought any state land. No.
Right.
So, they cannot capture my property in Winneba and in Accra. My Belenpe residence, I've lived there 20-something years. Right. I'm still there. You know, is it a state? The entire Belenpe is the state owning any land in Belenpe? No. So I don't see the basis for they even doing anything that will have my name. They attempted. And they got exposed. Let's say they were doing deep ocean fishing. But should they think that I have done anything wrong and they invite me, I would attend. Oh, of course, why not?
Okay.
If anybody, any state institution invites me to answer questions, why not? Because once you are in public service, the state would always need you in one way or the other to answer questions. And then you explain your side of the story. It's as simple as that. But any attempt at persecuting the minority will be resisted.
Briefly, and back to the OSP matter, and some have suggested that perhaps this new energy that is being exhibited by the OSP is just an attempt to come for members of the former administration. Do you see it that way, or just the OSP doing its work?
Let me not prejudice the work of the OSP.
You don't think former appointees have been targeted?
I don't want to go that route. Let's all wait and see. Let's believe that institutions of state will act in good faith and will rely on the law in pursuing people. Let's leave it there.
And still talking about the rule of law. I mean, before the MPP administration left office, some persons were employed, Ghanaians. Now, President Mahama's directive, as communicated by the Chief of Staff, was to the effect that anybody who was employed between a certain period, especially after the December 7th election, that employment should be revoked. And already we are seeing the evidence of that. This morning, for example, the Ghana Education Service issued a directive that everybody that was employed and yet to be captured on the public payroll, that appointment should be terminated.
In 2017, when a matter of this nature arose, President Mahama tweeted to condemn that action and criticize the government of the day. In his campaign, he assured the youth that he won't come and terminate anybody's appointment. Some of these appointments, the processes started way back, and eventually the appointment letters were issued, some September, October, some November, some December. I have seen letters that are terminating appointments that were made as far back as June last year. But we've raised it on the floor. I've written to Mr. President today on this matter.
You've written to the President?
Yes, I have.
Demanding what exactly?
Oh, I've written to Mr. President, stating the fact and calling on him to intervene and stop the action of the Chief of Staff, and that these are Ghanaians who have been employed, who are being thrown out of employment onto the streets. We don't need it as a country. It is not good for the image of the country, and it is creating some deep pain amongst people. Now, they refer to 2017 and say that Honorable Osafo said it was never done. You see, we were all in government. People prevailed on those who wanted to do that to stop. In fact,
there was an attempt to lay off those that
but it was never done
by the Mahama administration.
Yes, it was never done.
But there are media publications to the fact that some people were actually laid off.
No, where are those letters? It was not done. If you are talking about political appointees, that's a different matter. As for political appointees that had the appointment being revoked, that's one. Those revocations were done. But I'm talking about employees. Today, nurses are being sent home. Teachers are being sent home. Because of what? Institutions that are independent, institutions that are limited liability companies with their own board, who do not even, these institutions do not have government subventing the activities or providing support for them, who generate their own funds, revenue, and have employed. They are also taking such decisions. So if an institution like Ghana Gas employs an individual, it has no effect on government fiscal space. So how would you direct that institution to terminate the appointment when the person has gone through interview, aptitude test, medicals, and eventually being given a letter? It doesn't work that way.
But for those that, for example, teachers, nurses, and other individuals on the public payroll, the claim here is that these appointments were done without recourse to any financial clearance from the Ministry of Finance then.
That is not true.
It's like your party lost power and decided to push 8 members into the various spaces within the public space.
For all of these, there were clearance. All of these, there were clearance. It's not true. It's not true.
So why would government say that it was not properly done?
I've written to Mr. President, and I believe that we would get a good response.
The layoffs of
I am aware people, some individuals are going to court.
Yeah, because I'm just reading from your national organizer, Henry Nana Boakye. He says, I filed a lawsuit against government of Ghana challenging the unlawful termination of appointment for individuals employed both before and after December 7th, election 2025. Is this the way to go?
Well, sometimes the appropriate place to get your remedy is in the court. But that notwithstanding, we would continue to mount pressure through legitimate means to ensure that these innocent Ghanaians, these helpless Ghanaians get their jobs restored.
And it looks like it's not only there. Today as well, we read a statement from the Ministry of Communication signed by the sector minister, terminating the license of some 5 radio stations. According to the statement, they've been operating without the requisite documentation.
Yesterday, when this happened, the NDC criticized the action. Mr. Sam George himself, then ranking, he was a deputy ranking, he criticized the action. And today, same is being done. I would want to have a full study of the decision, and then we'll take action.
For now, it hasn't come to...
No, we'll take it up. I would engage. I've become aware of the publication, but our committee responsible for the sector will do some work on it, and then we'll take it up.
I'm not sure the ministry will just isolate some radio stations and then terminate their frequency. They are specific. They are operating without license, and that for me is illegal. It's unlawful.
What I'm saying is that I would want to get a full briefing from our team, and before we escalate it. But it's quite strange to hear of a thing like this. One, they were told that from the statement said for national security reason. I wonder.
There's one in Boko where they say that the radio station is being used to fuel the violence there, and for that reason, they shouldn't be allowed to operate.
Well, on the floor of the House, I'm sure the minister can give justification. So I believe when we hold him before the House, he will be able to explain some of these things to us.
But generally, the Mahama administration so far, how is it doing well? Is the government doing well? Where do you have challenges with the way governance is being done? Today, for example, there's a forum to look at how best we can reform the educational sector.
Well, this government...
I don't know whether the minority
government is acting...
side got an invitation to attend.
No, we never. I'm here. I've never got any invitation. This government is behaving as if it came into office without the manifesto. It should be bold and own up to its own policies. Today committee, tomorrow committee, so-called consultation. But I don't see it that way. The government is not being bold enough to take responsibility for its decisions. So that is my first problem. The second one is the level of decisions being taken and the next day reversing it. The government is not being decisive.
Some of the CEOs of some of the state owners' prices.
Today, somebody should go here. The next day they've changed it. That's what led to this Fabako, Namin Fabako.
But that's the prerogative of the president.
Yeah, but the
point who to change and who to bring.
Well, but you go take somebody to GOIL, then a GMPC, the next woman to GOIL. Somebody is at GIPC. As if when you were making the appointment, you didn't think through. And that's the most unfortunate.
And what does that suggest?
That the government is not decisive, it's not bold. You can't stick to your decision.
The president.
Well, it's the government. He signs the president signs the letter through his secretary. So if he keeps changing, then the problem starts with him and ends with him. And by extension, his own government. So that is not a good sign enough. But I think that we would want to give them their full 100 days to expire and look at the SONA, look at the budget, and then after that, we can properly assess them.
But you will admit that there are problems with the implementation of the free senior high school program. There is no dedicated funding to support it. If government says that let's all join hands.
But we implemented, we implemented it for 8 years. They criticized.
There are still issues.
No, they
there's feuding issues.
They criticized. They criticized us, and they said they had an alternative plan. What is the alternative plan? What is the committee for? What is the alternative plan of the NDC? What is the alternative policy to make the free SHS better? It's not about committee. It's about what they themselves have. What is their own homegrown solution as a party? They should tell us their solution. They don't have. So you are now seeking the people's views. You don't have one. What is the NDC saying?
Their plan is what is captured
they say the same
in
thing
their manifesto.
On the energy sector, ECG, and then now they are talking about consultation in the educational sector. To do what? What is their own plan for the...
And that's how we're wrapping up the AM show this morning. That conversation is on all our social media platforms. You can catch it for yourself. Before we go, I want to extend a happy birthday to Junior Kobe Ban, King Kobe Ban. Happy birthday. Today you turn 1. Your parents love you. We cannot wait for you to take the world by storm. Kwame Ban and Sarah Robertson Ban. They have this beautiful boy. Well, that's our show. My name is Sweetie Abochi, and I did this with Samuel Kojo Brace. We're back on your screens tomorrow from 6 a.m. to 10 a.m. But I leave you in the hands of Faustina Safo. She serves you Joy News Desk. Please stay.